Hey Jerry, why don't you go ahead and tell Mike about what you said about him being jabbed? You said that he was probably jabbed. What was your
Oh
theory about
yeah,
that?
yeah. So since we're here celebrating, obvious victories in the courts for quote unquote conspiracy theorists, I wanted to, strap a little one personal to this show, and I think that given Mike in Manitoba's current track record of not showing up first, like over and over and over again in the last, I don't know how many times, like 100, I
I
don't
can
even
I
know.
can tell you. Hold on. We've got
Feels like a lot, and I
last
think it's
week was your
because
face. The week
okay,
no, actually the week before that was Mike.
okay,
So
all
it's
right,
really only been 1 week.
okay,
This is the
all right.
second week. I'm sorry.
So this in a row or like ever, like
And
is
no,
it?
in a row. Because
Oh,
last week was your face, and then the
right.
previous week it was him. This week it was J Dubs. So
Okay, so all right, so
so 2 weeks.
that's enough for me to start a conspiracy. I
Okay.
think that Mike has been forcibly jabbed. I'm not even going to say he volunteered. I will give him that he was forcibly jabbed. Okay. I think that he was forcibly jabbed, and even though all of us shared that 9-page double, no spacing, no capitalization list of
Sure.
side effects, right? I don't think any of us really read it because if you looked at it at page 9, right, it says parentheses YHMAB.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you are a fan, you will be 15 seconds later to the show than normal.
Oh, so that would
Yeah,
certainly explain why he's been later than normal.
that's right. Yeah, I think it's entirely possible. Listen, you said, oh, it's only been 2. Okay. All right. So maybe I was bullshitting before. How many weeks does it need to be? You know what I mean?
Well,
It
if we're
doesn't. I
going
mean,
by CDC and if we're
mhm.
going by the science community, there
Oh,
has
right.
to be
Tom, we have to believe the science. So
right. Uh,
please reiterate that.
there has to be a like a 99% chance that something bad is going to happen. So like out of every 100 people who
Uh huh.
get jabbed,
Hmm.
99 of them have to die
Right.
from it for them to take action. Which
Oh,
we've
yeah.
seen, right? It's like one out of every 256
Yeah.
people in the UK die within 60 days of getting jabbed.
Yeah.
And so that's so it used to be, you'd be like, well, the odds of dying or whatever are pretty low, and you're like, you
Sure.
couldn't argue that, you couldn't argue the statistics in
Yeah.
that way.
Things take time, Tom.
And now, and even I couldn't refute it. I'm like, well, yeah, okay, one in, I don't know, 1,000, that's still pretty good for like an
Hmm.
injury, right? Not necessarily death, but for an injury it was like one in 1,000. But
Right.
now we
Like one
have
in every
numbers
two.
from the UK where it's one in 250 something. So it's like
Hmm.
that's pretty high risk, right?
Dude, let me tell you this: the other UK numbers that came out were that there were uh, it was just under 5,000 deaths of people who were unvaccinated, and then the number of people vaccinated who died. Also, by the way, just a side note, they were triple vax or something. Was like over 5,000, or, or let's say it was like 4,200 for non-vax, then like 4,800. You know what I mean? Like it was at or around equal, except very much ahead by the triple vax people.
So, and there's obviously an issue there, and it's
Mhm.
brought up
Sure,
every now and again where they're like, well, in a population of, you know, where it's like 90% vaccinated or whatever nonsense it is for the UK, uh,
sure.
the numbers would have to be, having 4,200 or whatever unvaccinated, but that only accounts for 10% of the population dying.
Right.
And then you have 90% that is vaccinated, and it's just slightly more than the other one. So people will always point out, well, yeah, but they balance out. It's still more unvaccinated than, which I have to agree with them. Yeah, technically, if you don't want to do like Bill Gates and how to lie with statistics, yeah, you would have
Hmm.
to address the fact that, you know, uh, if nine, okay, so like if 9 people were vaccinated and one person wasn't vaccinated, and one person who was unvaccinated died, versus 2 people who were vaccinated who died, you're like, well, still the vaccinated kind of like made out on that in that way.
Right.
So whenever I look at those numbers, I have to double check myself and go, okay, well, hold on. While at the same time, I still do believe, they're just talking about maybe people who are dying. Let's not forget all the people who are now permanently disabled for one reason or another, or have some kind of serious condition, or they can no longer play soccer or whatever. Or dude, they end up dying just by going out in the sun. So I don't know.
Yeah. Dude, so first of all, football. But second of all...
Football? What is this, nap?
Football. Second of all, I want to thank Heart Sutra for saying they're here and paying complete attention, which is nice, but also I feel the pressure now. I think that I can usually skate by on a mediocre co-hostship if people are just half paying attention. They hear the one time I make you laugh really hard, and they're like, "Oh, Jerry's so funny."
It's because everybody else was like, "Yeah, we're not really paying attention." Jakku or not.
Oh no,
I
saw that.
Like, yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
Mike
he's
was
like,
I'm gonna go.
I'm hanging out, but I'm probably gonna go. This party's kind of lame.
Total sausage fest in here.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, what a bunch of dicks, literally. But no. So what we're also not addressing in these numbers is how many people initially, right, were dead, and they were just like, oh, that can't be remember there were all these little stories that came out where someone would take the jet and then immediately just and they'd go, nah, that's not possible. Right. And then on the other side, let's not forget, everybody, because this is very, very important. Okay, and I know it sounds like I'm about to be sarcastic, but this is actually very, very important to remember. In the beginning, they were saying that people who had car accidents, and then they just test them with this test, that of course is not a test in this Orwellian world that we live in. It's not actually a test it's just a revolution. No, you find numbers. The guy who created it literally said, if you run it long enough, everybody has AIDS. So, long story short, I want everybody to recall that there were people who would die riding their bike, and they'd just be like, oh, he has it, so that's a COVID death. Remember?
Yeah, they'd be attacked by an alligator, and it would be a COVID
death.
Right. Because
that's right. But let's be honest, we all know that out of all the animals in the kingdom, alligators are the highest % with COVID. So
I've heard that.
That was actually a good possibility. Yeah. Which makes the Harambe death even more tragic.
Well, we all know that Harambe didn't have COVID or monkeypox.
We don't know that.
Well, I do, because I would visit Harambe often. You got to remember, I live here. He was
that's true.
A regional treasure. So we.
Do you have a shirt or a monument to him or anything?
Well, there was a statue right outside the gorilla exhibit.
Shut up.
It's all all the monkeys, but it's a gorilla with the baby, and I don't even think it was for Harambe. It was just it's always been there.
It was always in there.
But then it became a monument to Harambe's life achievements, I guess. I don't know. Once he died, or once he was killed in cold blood.
Was it a he or she? I thought it was a she.
Let's not sugarcoat it. No? Harambe was a boy. It's a silverback, right? It's the big, hulking silverback.
See, I just assumed because they picked up the kid it was a motherly. That's what I was.
No, he just protected him. Just like a father gorilla would do. Because if you look at the pictures, he's, the kid is kind of sheltered within his arms, but not being carried.
See, Tom, I was hoping you were going to say that we know Harambe was a man because he was open carrying his, you know what I mean?
Well, it's because he's statistically more likely to be killed by an officer, right? It's because men are commit more crimes, and then you're.
That's right. It's testosterone, Tom. Did you know that?
Yeah. So that statue became a monument to him afterwards because people would leave flowers and they would leave cards at it,
Shut
right?
up.
And
Stop it.
No, I'm serious. There were cards and flowers and shit that were laying on the ground right by the statue. And I walked up to it and there was a large crowd behind me, and I said, "Here it is, a monument to the failure of a parent, and the failure of parenting or whatever." And there were some some groans or whatever from the crowd, but then there were some people who were like, yeah, if it weren't for that lady. And now you have to understand about Harambe's enclosure. it is very difficult to get into Harambe's enclosure, period. It's even harder.
It's so difficult the child can do it.
Right. Well, he had time. He had to have had time because you can go there, or you could have gone there before. I think they've beefed it up a little bit more, but there was a time, like, it took some doing to get into the pen, right? Because they have this big, they've got the wall with the ropes blocking it, so that if somebody gets beyond that, that's not to stop you necessarily. It's not going to stop you if you're determined, but it's enough to stop you long enough for somebody to be like, "Whoop, hey, get back over here," if you're watching your kids, right? Now,
he would have had who does that?
That's what happened here. This kid, you climb over that. There's an area of like rocks and foliage and shit, very difficult to traverse. And then at the end of that, there's the cement wall. There's a drop, like at most zoo enclosures. There's this big drop into a, kind of like a, I don't know, like almost like a half pipe, very deep half pipe.
Okay.
Where at the bottom they have the drains, and you can just spray all the shit into. You literally spray the shit. You could spray it in there and when you're washing everything, and it falls down in the pit. But it also prevents the animals from getting to the people. So there was that. Sure. And there's no easy way to get over that other than, and I mean, if a gorilla can't jump, and gorillas are very good at jumping, right? And swinging.
I think so.
I'm not sure how this kid got there, unless his mom was on the phone in another exhibit across the park and there was no one there. Like, it's very, for
Tom,
me to get across there, it would have been very, very difficult, right? I would want to be there, right? Because being in a gorilla pen would be funny.
Oh yeah. But okay, so now you've thrown something in the mix to me that I was unaware of. Just how difficult, And I guess, Tom, now the skeptic is coming out in me. Okay, the old the spiritists that we can't say it anymore. We want to make sure we keep the show, right? Sure. So now I guess my question is, since we spent a portion of the last show discussing that there are grown adults who think that the moon landing occurred.
Yeah.
Right?
Idiots.
And how ridiculous that is. Now, Tom, I'm sitting here going, well, wait a minute. What if Harambe, that whole thing, wasn't real? What if it wasn't what they said?
Did they dump it into the Atlantic on the way back?
No, but they had Clint Eastwood do a movie about the snap. Anyway. But no, dude, so here's what I'm thinking. Can we do polls on this show or no? Like in the chat, do we have poll opportunities? I don't know. Do you have?
Tell them to do an emoji or something.
Okay, all right. So I want people to vote on this. I know we don't have as many people as we usually do, and only half are paying attention. But
well, I know Heart Sutra is paying attention.
Yeah, Heart Sutra can vote on this. So, which is more likely to have actually occurred? The Harambe murder, murder. The moon land. You could put. I'm sure there must be like a gorilla emoji, right?
A gorilla emoji, right? Or a moon emoji.
Yeah. That's what I'm. Or the third option. Now that we know what the real deal is with Koof, were those how real were those videos from China that got everybody scared so we would accept a lockdown?
Yeah.
So
which one's most likely is what you're asking?
Yeah, and you could pick your own emoji. Like, we already have the other two, so just pick your own emoji for the Asian video.
Preferably something that's like racially insensitive.
I kind of just assumed. I figured I didn't have to say.
Oh well, I'm happy to say it. So.
Oh yeah. So Tom, if I was to ask you now, and understand, of course, check yourself. You have your bias, right? Because you are a resident of that zoo, and
I live there.
You live there. That's why you got so mad they wouldn't let you have the bat house.
Took away and they took away one of my best neighbors. Like, he was in a rare circumstance, a large ape-looking man, was removed, and that was a bad situation. When otherwise, what are you drinking over there? Is that water?
No. Remember, I think it was last week when I told you those high noons.
Okay.
I was getting into those. This is passion fruit.
Okay. Well, yeah, you
High
did tell me
noon.
that the passion fruit was the one.
And this cup, I don't want to, put it on blast, but my wife,
My wife,
um,
your wife.
in some budgeting discussions many moons ago at this point, I said, honey, your coffee consumption is mostly sugar and garbage. Um, why don't we make some coffee at home? I will pay, I'll find you good quality, medium roast, something, I went through all these Amazon reviews, this, that, and the other, and the company Busy has come out on top. And essentially, now when I make my orders, I put them in bulk, and they give you free stuff like every time. So I have 3 of their cups like this, and I have a 16-ounce tumbler, and I bought my wife a like 24-ounce tumbler, dude. It's like it's huge, and so that's like her. I need a lot of coffee cup, and yeah. So we just use the cold brew. You know what I'm saying? We just take the grounds, let it soak in water for like 24 hours, get the drip, and there you go.
All right.
Save lots of money, get free shit, and now I get to have booze inside of a coffee cup.
Nice.
Uh-huh.
Whereas mine, I got from like this was from a Crown Royale. Remember those Christmas packs that they would send?
Yes.
You could buy like the Crown Royale, and it would have the drink, and then it would have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cups that it came with, or it would come with a flask, or anything to encourage
Drinking.
alcoholism, right? So.
Right.
So you're asking me which one do I believe happened?
That's correct.
Harambe.
Given that we acknowledge your bias, first of all,
Well,
that
yeah,
you live
of course.
at the
I'm
zoo and
checking
you
my
feel like you
privilege.
saw.
The
Yeah.
first thing I do in any situation is I check my privilege. And
It's
then
almost
I brag
as
about
though
it, and then
I want you to treat it. I want you to treat it like for example, you went to a particular. One of your kids went to a particular school, and while they were not victims, they swear to you that what happened was real.
Mm-hmm.
If you get my drift,
Sure.
Yeah,
if
there's like, let's call it a dusty, broken appendage school.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, like
I don't want us to get sued off the planet, Tom.
Yeah, I don't want to have to pay $50
million
dollars or whatever.
Yeah. I don't want to have to pay $50 million for a stupid joke.
Here's the thing that I don't get about that is like,
Okay.
what would be so he had to know that he was going to end up paying some exorbitant amount of money, right? This was a civil suit, right? And he knew that he was going to have to pay some crazy stupid amount of money.
Sure.
And at a certain point, I would imagine his lawyers would have discussed it with the other lawyers, and he would know what was coming. And yet he backed down, right? Whereas, like, I think in my situation, if I was ever asked, because everybody knows my opinion on that, whether kids died or not at this place, the whole thing, which I don't think they did, but if they did, I would say that it was a government psyop, right? Or some kind of false flag thing, where people did die. Personally, I don't think anybody did die, but at that point, I think when you're already in that deep, I would probably stick to my guns and say, well, I would love to just see a modicum of evidence that this happened. Because even in the trial, they said that the parents didn't even see the children's bodies, right? And, they were asking about that. They were like, well, she went and saw the body. Oh, no, they didn't go see the bodies, right? And so, like, you could put somebody on the stand and say, okay, well, you didn't see the body. Let's get somebody else in here. Did you see the body? No. Did you see the body? No. Going. So nobody saw the kids' bodies, right? Yeah, go ahead.
I have an answer. It's very easy. Alex Jones has admitted to having ties to the deep state. He's admitted it. And I guess what I want to throw out there to people, since we're on a particular type of show, I don't want to use the name, Tom, because again, I want us to keep the show. But I want to lay out there for everybody that in what was essentially like a 2-week span, there was the Alex Jones trial, where basically you have a man who essentially voiced an opinion that no one liked, get sued into the ground while completely ignoring not only his ties to the deep state, the fact that $50 million. Well, that's of course like just that's enough. That's a nice round number. I'm surprised, honestly, they didn't use like 33 million.
Right. Something.
So, you know what I mean? Or 66.67. You know, something. He. What did they?
I think.
Oh yeah, but they admitted during the trial that he makes like $180 million every like 6 months or something just from the vitamin sales or whatever.
Sure.
So it's a flash in the pan, and then the same people who were paying like that to begin with, if they don't want to admit that he is a Fed, that they're just gonna pay all that money. Like they're gonna be like, fucking Alex, victim again. They took him offline, but somehow he's a big fucking millionaire that I gotta, you know. And then they're buying 3 of the Gorilla Brain, whatever, I don't know, whatever they are, right? And so then he's gonna make that money back in like a day, right? Like he makes it in a day already. And then so my point being, you have Alex Jones on trial, and what is the end result of that? You are to learn that if you make some shit up on this, like if we just talk in the show, you will be sued into the ground. And now there's precedent showing that if you say something that people don't like on the internet, they will find you, sue you into poverty, and you'll be dead because you're not Alex Jones. You don't have that kind of money. Then you had the guy in the UK who everybody claimed was that guy who like posted online, and because he hurt someone's feelings, they arrested him. Did you see that?
Yeah, what's his name? Dank, something or another. Count.
No. That was years ago.
Yeah.
That I don't know if it was.
Well, his was a dog that did the Nazi salute.
That's right. Yeah, that was hilarious. I'm sorry. That's just, come on now. Anyway, that's just too cute. Like it's not even, you know. Anyway. This is a recent one where a guy just like supposedly posted something on Facebook, but the only way people knew about it was that this literal actor turned DIY newsman was there with a camera crew to film him getting arrested at the exact same time where the cops informed him they literally said this straight up, like into the camera, you're getting arrested because you hurt someone's I'm sorry, I have to make British teeth and say sounds stupid. Teeth, yeah. You got an arrest for hurt someone's feelings.
Isn't it?
Isn't it, Gunda? Right? And the guy's there going, you heard it here. If you say something online that people don't like, you go to the post. So there's no record of his arrest. He was immediately released. No one talks about that. No one talks about the fact that an actor turned activist, person is there on the scene to film it at the same time. Those two things happen. Then this Trump thing happens. Now, if more has developed that I don't know about, please inform me. But at the initial time that it occurred, literally it was Trump's own press release or tweeting or maybe he's using his own little what is that called?
The office of the president. Are you talking about Truth?
No, his app or whatever.
Yeah, the Truth.
Yeah.
Social media or whatever.
Yeah. So maybe it was that. But essentially he just sent out, my house is being raided like right now. Totally, guys. I'm standing here writing this as they're going through my shit. Like basically that was it. And there was no video. There was no audio. There was no. And then I'm also supposed to believe that the same guy who pushed the jab, the same guy who pushed censorship on college campuses, the same guy who everything that you can say about him is Hillary Clinton's friend, hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, all that kind of shit. That guy doesn't know if it actually happened. That was like, literally you're trying. Oh, at the same time, by the way, that the domestic, the so-called leak from the feds about domestic terrorists came out as people with, Betsy Ross flags or whatever the fuck, that whole list, right? Yeah. Basically anybody who probably, if they voted, would have voted for him, also get to see him supposedly get his house raided, and so on and so on and so on. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, they're trying to split up the country and put you into fear. This is all a fucking joke. Alex Jones is a Fed who's going to make his money in a day. That guy never even had a jail sentence. Trump tweeted it out, essentially. There's no video, no nothing, and it's literally a first-person account.
Yeah.
And then, while it's supposedly happening, and then the other part was a quote-unquote leak. And that's why when you and I were just talking about that IRS thing where they're supposed to be in fit shape where they could shoot somebody and want to participate in arrests, I'm like, I don't even believe that's real. That was probably put out just enough for some fucking dipshit to put out on the internet. You know, one of these fake right-winger guys, you know, that's to throw another match on the pile of what will soon be burning bodies, you know? So that's my view.
What do you think, Jerry? You've said a lot of things that probably didn't happen. And and you've made a believer out of me because all these things are a little shady, and there's again,
if you look at them in isolation, no, right? It's not bad. Or I mean, they're bad.
Yeah, it sounds like, oh wow, this is pretty ridiculous, you know, or how,
right?
You know, what do they think? You know, I don't know. What you would be pissed off about it. I would agree with that.
Sure.
Now, yeah. But if you look at them all together, you've made your point. That what do they say? You know, politics is theater and the world's a stage or whatever. You know, and all of this is planned.
Dude, wag the dog.
In order to,
you know.
Yeah, and it's in order to do all this shit. But how do I feel about that? Do I think that I think you've made some very valid points, and like I said, I don't believe anything that anybody tells me, and at this point, I have a hard time knowing. I'm getting to the point where I'm like having a hard time believing anything because it's all so absurd, and I'm like, I don't want to I don't want to muddy up my stuff that I believe happened, like Pizzagate or shit like that I know.
No, it does get tough, right? Because then you start going, wait a minute.
You're like, there's all this normal stuff that you're like, is that even real? And you're starting to. I feel like maybe I'm going into some kind of psychotic episode. But so what? Tell me this, Jerry. What happened this week? In the news or whatever, or like what big event this week happened that we're aware of? Actually happened, in your opinion? Like what happened that you believe actually happened the way it was reported?
Yeah, Tom, that is easy. Are you kidding? All right, that's easy. All right, so I can't believe I even have to say this on the show. I mean, we're so full of truth, I can't believe I even have to just bring it up. But we had no inflation for the last 30 days.
That's right.
So
I did have zero inflation.
Zero.
Made that
and then, by the way, people thought that this is great. Speaking of like nonsense, but people thought that was a gaffe, you know, and they'd be like, "Oh shit, just try to bury." No, he tweeted it out afterwards too.
So here's the thing. I understand that there is a difference. You know, you see the stuff about how, there's no inflation, or inflation numbers are at 3% or whatever. And then they look at increases in gas and increases in
the
groceries and increases
leave
in
out,
stuff. Yeah. and these things are all like 18, 20, 50% higher. For me, you know, I bought all that lumber and it's, you know, at least
how'd that turn out?
8 times what it would have been, you know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Again, another tragedy about the bat house.
I still haven't built it yet because it's been raining, and then the days that it's not raining, it's just so doggone muggy. I can't even. I'll go out there and I'll just do something. I'll just go out there to, I don't know, enjoy a cigar or whatever, and I'll just be drenched in sweat before I even light it. Like, it's just so nasty out. So, anyways, I haven't been able to do it yet. I'll probably do it. I have to do it probably this week because I think it's supposed to drop down the next couple days. Anyways, I digress.
Yes,
but
I think
they talk about how the inflation numbers, they're like, they say it's 3% or it's 8% or blah blah blah. You know, that it's not these super high numbers, which we know that it is. But they do the same thing that they do with the unemployment numbers. They find a way to remove all this really bad stuff and just focus on, you know, they hyper focus on, I don't know, GDP versus I don't know what tax collection. I don't know, like they find two things that are like, when you do the math, it ends up coming out to like a really nice number that people are like, okay, I can deal with that, you know, or the change in, you know, the change in GDP per quarter or some shit. And then instead of doing the actual inflation numbers, and they're like, well, here's how we got it. And then by the time they start saying, well, here's how we got it, the only people who are still listening are not Joe and J and Q public who are just
No.
like, I don't know the fucking first thing about economics, and I certainly don't care about the GDP and these math numbers or whatever. So then they go on about, going up into their to their sex dungeon and then having a strap on while the husband watches or whatever, and they go and do that stuff. And so they know that nobody who knows anything is going to be watching, or who doesn't know any better, who would be surprised by those numbers. Then the only people who watch, other than that, are people who are going to push it and say, no, it's legit. I'm an economics PhD professor at George Washington University or whatever, or some ultra liberal nonsense place. And I can validate that these numbers are accurate. It is in fact 3%. And then, or who was that guy that we always pick on?
Paul Krugman?
Yeah, that guy. So it's always the people who are bought and paid for by the government.
Dude, can I tell you? I'm glad.
Well, hold on. Let me do this real quick.
Okay, yeah.
It's them who are going to push it anyways, or then the people who do know economics and who do understand how they've manipulated the numbers, and then they go out and say, like, I don't know, like somebody who got their bachelor's degree in business administration, with specifically in economics and management and that sort of stuff. They come out and they say, well, no, listen up, check this out. Let me show you the numbers, what they are supposed to be using, what they've used since time immemorial, right? Since the dawn of the GDP, the first time we tracked GDP and any kind of financial tracking of the United States. Let me tell you how they've manipulated that, just like they did 2 weeks ago when they changed the definition of the word recession, right? Like right before your very eyes, and you don't give a shit. Like, this is what they should have done, and this is what they did instead for the very first time in history. And then they say, well, no, what you don't understand is, like, some PhDs came out and some people who devote their lives to that. They know a little bit more than you do, Tom, so I need you to go ahead and, I need you to recognize that these people who put their whole lives into that, they probably know a little bit more than you do, okay?
Do you realize, Tom, how many children they had to sleep with to be on TV like this?
And murder, yeah.
And murder. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that Paul Krugman up, by the way, because I don't remember 100% the context, right? But he actually tweeted out about the essentially depression,
And
he
how
just
it's a
goes,
good thing.
no, this was incredible. It was actually an admission of his retardation. He goes, I thought we were going to have a few bumps in the road, but no real long-term problems. I honestly couldn't see this coming. It was just him saying, yeah, this is fucked. I actually couldn't see this coming. It's like, yeah, you're retarded. That's,
And that's the problem with these people, is like they don't listen to, and I get it, they're hired by New York Times, or I think he works for New York Times, but they get hired by these institutions, which are like, they used to be credible institutions, but they're still like, people still subscribe to them and still people believe them, and people click on or they have the Bangladeshi click farmers going through and like getting the numbers for them. So they think that they're hot shit. They think that people are actually reviewing their articles or their blogs. That's what he is. He's an opinion writer. And they think that, and they think, well, I'm a professor in economics or whatever, and I understand inflation better than anybody. So when somebody comes to them and says, hey, Paul, your numbers are fucked up, and here's why. Let me show you. And then he goes, oh, okay, easy there, slugger. I don't know if you know this, but I actually write a column for the New York Times. What do you do?
Right.
Oh, okay. You're not.
Did you notice my tie?
You don't write a column for the New York Times. So I'm going to go ahead and poo-poo you away now so I can go back to writing about the Biden boom, okay? And so these were all the things that we were saying 2 years ago were going to happen. And 3 years ago, under Trump even, we were like, if you just give people money, these are the problems you're going to have. And they're like, that's not true. That's not what's going to happen. And then exactly those things happen. And I can't help but, like, when I say, wow, like all the things that we said would happen 3 years ago when you guys started doing this, like these things are all happening. And they're like, you didn't say that shit. It was us. We said that. And I'm like, I can actually show you on archive.org. I can show you in the Wayback Machine how you wrote an article saying that anybody who says this is misinformed and that it's going to actually cause this economic boom and we're going to become a powerhouse in the world again. And I remember you specifically saying that, and you criticizing me specifically in various tweets. And what evidence do you have that it was you that said that? And they're like, oh, fucking, whatever, nevertheless, right? So that's where it makes me furious to no end. But I'm also on so many medications, and I'm like so full of ketamine at all times that like it makes me angry. But like I forget what it's like to be angry, so I'm just like, ooh, that makes me so angry, right? I'm like,
it's got to be like a weird, like that's like being. I'd imagine that feels like what it's like if you're angry on vacation. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, I got sand in my shoe. Oh
Like,
man.
oh, sand on my fucking balls at this beautiful beach and all that,
Yeah,
Um,
it's
did I ever
exactly
tell
like
you,
that.
dude, did I ever tell you the story of when I got, okay, I don't want to say I scammed the New York Times exactly, but I believe I did because in partnership with the Mets, they were having a giveaway at the stadium. Did I ever tell you about this? Did I ever tell you
I
about
don't
this?
think so.
All right, so I went to a ball game, and in one day I just kept going out looking for free shit, because the Mets were absolutely terrible at the time, and they were looking, they're like, hey, please don't leave in the middle of the game, whatever. We'll keep giving you free shit. So first thing I got was a Iron Man water bottle
Oh.
with Don Cheadle throwing out the first pitch. So okay.
Oh, so it's not the
It
Iron
wasn't
Man
even
water
Robert Downey.
bottle is
Yeah,
probably better.
no,
Yeah.
wasn't. Should have been Iron.
It should
Wait,
have been a warfighter or
War
a
Machine.
patriot. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what it is.
Iron Patriot or War Machine. One of the two.
Misleading is what that is.
Exactly. Yeah, but dude. So okay, so I'm walking around, and I see this table, and it's got these like cool, nifty, swooshy Mets spring jackets,
Mm-hmm.
And I go, what is this for? And this guy comes out, he's like, are you a New York Times subscriber or whatever? And I go, no. No. And he goes, all right, so look, here's the deal. You just have to sign up for the New York Times online. You don't even have to get the subscription, but once a week, Sunday edition or whatever. And if you do that, you can have this jacket. And I could tell, dude, it was like $100-some-odd jacket, like for real. And so I said to him, all right, but the New York Times sucks, and I don't want to do that.
Is it also applied to the Post? Can I get the Post?
Yeah,
instead?
dude. Right. So here we go. So I backed off, and I sat there and I pondered, like I'd never pondered before. And then I walked up to him and I said, I don't know if you have to tell me the truth, but I have a question for you. And he's like, fucking, right? Like, motherfucker. I said, is it possible that I can sign up for this and get the jacket and then walk away from you and immediately cancel my fucking subscription because there's nothing in writing that you've shown me that says I can't?
Right.
And dude, gently, but he pulled me to the side of the table away from the people in the front just signing up, right? And he goes, yeah, you could totally do that. Just shut the fuck up. So I signed right up, and I got my jacket, and then I canceled fucking immediately. And I got a free jacket on the New York Times.
Did you, when it asked you why you were canceling your subscription, did you write, because the dude gave me a jacket, and I only signed up to get this jacket, and now I'm canceling because I have the jacket in my possession, and there's nothing you can do to take it away from me, right? Did you do that?
I wish I had. At the time, I was trying to be a bit more of an edgy boy. I said, "'Cause your mom gay." That's what I said.
Exclamation, exclamation, and then a bunch of the number one after that.
And I made sure I signed it in Comic Sans. That was the other thing. So that was
made me angry like third hand by hearing that story, right? I was not even cheated by what you did.
No.
So, now that we're done ripping on all that stuff, do we want to do the thing, and then we'll do because I have some content that I'd like to share. And
sure, but you still haven't told me which one you thought was more likely to have actually occurred.
I don't think any of them happened. I don't think any of them are true.
No.
I don't even I even knew Harambe, and I don't even think that was true. Like,
right.
I'm that
you went
guy,
to his birthday party.
Yeah, I'm that guy who, like, I could be present, and I'd still be like, I didn't probably have that good of a vantage point on it. I can't say for sure that I saw that my wife and children were murdered. Like, I couldn't tell you. And they're like, well, here's the bodies, right? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm still not like, was I even ever, where's the proof that I was actually married? That's a horrible excuse. It's like, that's like something cheaters say. Like, well, show me with the documentation where it says that well, the certification of marriage, the matrimony documents.
Yeah, this thing that you did with the state?
Yeah, for like the last 16 years we've been married. Like, what And of course, I'm talking to a dead body at this point. But
Yeah.
no, so
But your wife would get up and fucking,
oh, she would. Mexicans, they never die. They always come back.
No.
If you cross them, even in death, they'll come back. You've seen the movie Coco, right? Or
Yeah,
any
well,
of those movies. The One Book of Life. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Good movies. Good and very accurate, true to the culture. So no,
Does everyone look like Selma Hayek or no?
Every Mexican I've ever met looks like Selma Hayek, even the men.
Wow.
A very interesting culture. I saw a meme earlier today of it said it was Quentin Tarantino with Selma Hayek's foot in his mouth, and it says it says, "Be Quentin Tarantino, add a foot or toe sucking scene into your movie. Hire Selma Hayek to be the woman who puts her toes in somebody's mouth. Be the actor who has to take her toes in your mouth." Quentin Tarantino, ladies and gentlemen. And as we know, he did that to children on Epstein's Express or whatever. I went looking the other day through my documentation for when we bought the house, like the deed and all the application and stuff, and I don't see anywhere in there where I signed up for the HOA. So I'm actually very tempted to go and make this whole deal out of it and say, because when we moved in, actually there was no HOA. There was a period where they were not in good standing, and therefore, I might have found a loophole. So I'm going to have her present the documents saying that I did in fact sign up to be a part of this HOA. And if she can't provide it, I'm going to be a huge pain in her ass, like more so than I already am. Anyways, that's me. I'm the guy who's like, I don't even believe any of this stuff is true, especially once it like benefits me. I can be like, I don't remember ever signing up for the HOA. So you need to prove to me that I'm a part of the HOA, and be like, well, when you joined this neighborhood, you did. But where's the documentation that says that it was when I joined? Like, you guys, and I made that point very clear before. I'm like, you guys were in a defunct state. Like, you guys were not good with the state. You guys were not in good standing. You guys owed a ton of money. It had been like brought up on corruption charges and shit. I was like,
dude, that'd be like someone saying, dude, when you moved to Palestine, you knew it was Israel. Like, no, what do you?
When you moved to Istanbul, you knew it was Constantinople. Or no, when you moved to Constantinople, you knew it was Istanbul.
That's right.
So let's do our welcomes, and then we'll get the show on the road. We got J Dubs is number 1 in the chat today. Mike in Manitoba coming in second because of his COVID vaccination. Jakub, Heart Sutra. Jakub he's actually still here. It looks like. Heart Sutra, Efren Flores, Amanda. The funny thing about Efren Flores is normally he's beaten here by Megabit.
His wife.
Megabit, and I know Megabit is and Stephakis are married, not Efren Flores.
No. I just wanted to hear the sentence, Efren is beaten by his wife. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure he is from time to time.
That's not, Okay.
So, and then the FBI guy in the chat and Superfan as well.
Can I also say, for all the unfortunate truth that Mike has been jabbed, I want to celebrate. Yeah, may he rest in peace. I'm thankful to see that in what is probably his last meal, he has garden potatoes, green beans, and cucumbers from his garden. That is awesome.
It's followed by a thumbs up right there. I don't know if you see that emoji.
Yes, I do.
Thumbs up, which really makes me think of Terminator 2 when he's being lowered into the molten metal or whatever.
That's right.
Going
yeah,
on
he's on his way out.
He's dying to the COVID vaccine. So what are we cheersing to?
Whew. Well,
tequila again today. I gotta try that because remember I tried this
that's right.
Agavesaurus Rex or whatever. And I really liked it, but I want to make sure that I really like it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you have something and the novelty of it is, gets you real fired up about it. And you say nice things about it. Like when you leave a movie theater, you're like, wow, I really liked Scream 3. I thought it was a great addition to the franchise. And then, years later or even days later, you're like, that movie was awful. And then years later, you're just embarrassed that you ever said anything kind about it because you're showing your kids the Scream franchise. They watch Scream 3 and they're like, that movie was a piece of shit, Dad. And you're like, yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot because I was in 6th grade when that movie came out. So I thought it was cool when I was leaving
epic,
the theater.
bro. Yeah.
So what are we cheersing to there?
Let's go. You know what? You're bringing me back. And I think I want to cheers to shitty horror flicks, specifically the latest, They Them.
I didn't watch it. Not yet.
No, I
I
didn't.
intend to.
No, I
I
didn't
intend
watch.
to,
Are
though.
you fucking kidding me? No, I didn't
No, I'm
watch
gonna
it.
watch it. I'm gonna watch it. I'll watch
You
it and then
are?
we'll talk about it. Yeah, and that's what I
With
wanted.
Kevin
That was
Bacon?
some of the content that
Ooh.
I have it. So it's on.
You
What is
do?
it on? Yeah, it's on like Peacock or Tubi or some shit, or even if it's on Hulu. I don't like
Oh,
to
I
watch
have-
movies on Hulu because you get
Really?
commercials unless you pay for the subscription. I'm not about to pay for Hulu content. That's ridiculous. Everything
Dude,
that
see,
they
I
have
pay
on
for the
Hulu.
cable so I could watch baseball. So I have it.
Oh, yeah. See, I
Without-
don't have.
Well, what I mean is, excuse me, I don't know that I have They Them because I don't know where it's released and I didn't see
yeah, I
it.
don't remember. I think it's on some like knockoff streaming service like Peacock or Tubi or some shit. Anyways,
Oh,
yeah,
you know
but-
what? Don't.
but
Anyway,
I
go
did
ahead. Go
get it.
ahead.
I did get it. I got my hands on a copy of it, not through traditional means. Like I literally went to that camp and sucked off a bunch of transgender children so that I could get my hand. No, I'm just kidding. I got it through
That's
torrenting
true.
and pirating. So
Dude, as soon as you said that, I went to Hulu because I'm subscribed real quick. And on the top, you know, where they advertise their shit, there's the show Only Murders in the Building, right? And that is from Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. And they, of course, are trying to
What a
sell Selena
weird-
Gomez.
yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
what a weird combo.
It is, but they're set. So here's Selena Gomez, right? And right at her tit line, it says presented by California Milk Advisory Board.
Ah, I wonder if that's intentional.
I'm not. Yeah, I was just. I'm not joking. I mean, that's like a really lame joke for me to just interrupt the show with, but it's real.
It's a real thing. So
Or should I say
everybody
it's real?
tune in. Everybody tune in for Selena Gomez's milk jugs. All right, to shitty old movies and shitty campy kind of horror movies or whatever, including
do it.
the They Them.
Which is, yeah. You know, I tell you, Tom, you know, back when there used to be D Live and other Stream Me, you know, alternative stream places that you could get away with streaming copyrighted content. I got to tell you, I would have said to you, Tom, I think we should make a special, quote unquote,
Episode.
members only,
Oh yeah.
you know, and watch it together. I will say I think there are ways to do that because we can make the video private and invite people, give people the link. I also know that there are video content creators that watch stuff like television shows and critique them the whole time, and they have them like kind of blurry in the background, but they watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I remember sharing that, like there was a sharing thing to do that. And I would also say to you that Odyssey is a channel that we should probably start and connect our channel to, because it completely, like with the push of a button, backs up our entire channel. So if we ever lost anything, that people could go there.
I save everything now. I have it all in a very big hard drive. Every single thing, all the
Yes,
raw data,
Tom.
all
All I ever hear is about how big your hard drive is.
yeah,
I know.
Well, I've showed it to you several times.
I have the receipts. But so I would suggest, if that's an alternative, because I watched the movie What Is a Woman on Odyssey. So it's
So,
you know.
maybe we can let's try to figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see if we can do so. Maybe
I think
we'll
it could be
have
fun, you know.
Mostly Wave here is saying we could stream it through Discord as well. Well, maybe he just retracted it, so maybe.
Oh no!
Maybe not.
Did he get shot? Did he get shot?
He was taken off. For recommending we do something. Stream it in Discord too, is what he said. So
Did he have a misspelling and delete it?
maybe, and that's fine.
Is that what it
I
is?
appreciate.
Listen, I'm that
appreciate
kind of
sort
guy.
thing.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we could do so. Let's see if we can come up with something, because I'll tell you what, next week I don't think we're going to be able to stream, only because I have, this is my final week.
Inflation?
This week and next week. Yeah, inflation as well. It costs too much for us to live stream, so it's gone up literally zero in costs.
Tom actually told me off screen that he doesn't believe I'm real anymore. That's the thing.
So I can't be messing around on here anymore with fake people.
That's right.
With deep fake Jerry. Uh, let's see if we can figure out something. Pitch your stuff in the Discord. Let us know, or on Telegram, or however you contact us.
Yeah.
Or via text, however you contact either want me or Jerry, and we'll come up with something. Maybe we can stream. Maybe we can live stream they them, and I think that would be a pretty funny one since we're always shitting on transgenders anyways. And I'm like a huge horror movie guy. I have a copy of it. I can definitely make it happen. We have the software to do that. Maybe we can do a stream this weekend instead of doing a show next week. And if it gets taken down, it gets taken down. It'll be a chance for us to all come together as friends and and shit on the they them. So yeah, we'll do that. So here was my content that speaking of shitty movies. What do you hear about the movie Prey, Jerry? What is your take on that?
Okay, so I have yet to watch it. And by the way, speaking of films that are on Hulu, because it is.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's not where I watched it, because I told you I don't watch it on Hulu. I want commercials.
Yeah. So my immediate thought when I saw it was, oh, they're doing just yet another, feminist, like, dude, it's Pocahontas defeating the fucking predator. Are you fucking kidding me? Right. Like, Pocahontas couldn't even hunt a boar or whatever. You understand? Are you serious? So I thought, okay, it's going to be completely ridiculous, over the top, feminism and all that stuff. Now, there are a couple different people that I watch in terms of, like, guys who break that kind of stuff down. Movie watchers, critics.
I know you do. I know.
That I enjoy. And it's strange because unless he's joking, one of them said, yeah, it's garbage, but it's not as big of a piece of garbage as you would think.
Yeah.
Though there are some of that feminist things in there, you'd have to be blind and dumb not to see it. On the other hand, I saw another guy say it's actually not that bad. It was like some sort of vote of confidence video, and I was like, wait, what? And even in the shit-talking video, they said that the cinematography and the actual filming of it is, like, actually really pretty. A lot of natural, not a lot of special effects, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, I'm still not into watching Pocahontas defeat a predator, but I can't believe what I'm hearing either. So that's where I'm at.
So, okay, well, do you trust me in my opinion of movies? I'm a huge bigot. I'm an incredible misogynistic bastard. Like, I hate
Yeah, but more than that, you like the prequels, which is where I worry.
Well, okay, yeah, I guess that would trouble somebody who has shitty taste in movies. But so I am a huge fan of. I'm huge, right? But I'm also a fan of, and that's a knock on my own weight. Which, by the way, I don't know if I've told you this. I'm down to my goal. I was at like 34% body fat. I was fat as fuck for a while. Okay. And then my goal was to get down to 20. My goal was to get down to like 26. I got down to 29 like a few weeks ago. 29% body fat, which I was like, okay, well, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And then I checked it the other 2 days ago, and I was down to I think it was 26.5, and I'm like, wow, dude, I'm really doing something here. And all I did was I just started exercising again, right? That's it. All it took. All you have to do is exercise and take care of yourself, and don't drink a bunch of soda and shit.
That is awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Seriously,
thank you.
That's awesome.
I appreciate that. I'm trying to get out of the obese category because I think anything above 26 is obese. Yeah. And I was an obese, and that offended me. I saw that word, as you should be offended when you see the word obese.
You should be mad about that, right?
You should see the word obese and be like, oh, what?
Can I ask you a question? As a person,
people, gross, right?
Yeah. You don't want to be the guy, because there's one thing that me and some of my comedy friends always agreed that would be funny, forever, and no matter what the culture change. You understand what I'm saying? And one of them that what we agreed upon was fat people falling.
Yeah,
would
always funny.
Always doesn't matter.
Especially if when they fall down, their pants come down a little bit and they fart. Those are if that happens, that's just side splitting funny, right?
Oh my goodness, that's remember that instead of my wedding funny,
right? Yeah.
And so let me ask you this: as a person who is now losing weight and not obese. While I do believe I've lost some weight with all the different log splitting I've been doing in 100-degree weather and stuff like that, I'm not exactly out there busting it every day, all right? I have a question.
Mhm.
Is it wrong of me to kind of maintain or slow trickle lose in that way, expecting that very soon we'll all be starving, and therefore I assume I will lose the weight then? Is that wrong?
No, because here's the thing, Jerry, is the better shape that you're in, the more you're
Hmm.
going to eat, right?
Oh yeah,
Because when the time comes and they start to put the screws to us, we'll
right.
revolt, and along the way we're going to take out some of the weaker, wealthier people and take their food, right? It's going to be a lot like prison, where so I think it's going to be a lot like prison, where the stronger are going to be able to go up to a table and knock the fork out of somebody's hand, and then you're going to have people who I think the live stream just froze, or at least Jerry froze. I don't know what's going on there. I froze. Really? Talking about fat people is what got us shut down? Oh, there we go. Hold on. We may be back. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yep.
All right.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a lot like prison, in that, the stronger ones are going to be able to go around and take people's cornbread and slap the fork out of their hands. And I think that's what it's going to be like. So as you're losing weight and as you're becoming more healthy, expect to eat more, because you're going to be
Okay.
able to. And it's the weaker who are going to go without food. But anyways,
Okay.
I had so I watched. So I'm a big horror fan, right? And I enjoy some of the Predator movies, okay? And I'm not above saying that, right? Like I'll
If you said all of
straight
them,
up.
I'd be a little.
Yeah, then it's kind of like saying I'm a huge fan of all the Terminator movies. That's an automatic no-go. Like when somebody says that, you're like, okay, so you don't have good judgment. So I like some of the Predator movies, and so I go back. I would say I even like some of the, but I wouldn't say that they're good movies, but I do enjoy the Alien versus Predator movies. I think they're fun. But this movie kind of was. I went into it. Here's my thing, with my. Mostly Wave says, streams back. I can see your less than obese gums flapping again. Thank you. I don't know if you know this, but I'm down to 26.5 body fat. I went into it thinking, ugh, this is going to be some Mary Sue bullshit, right? But I have kids, right? And my kids, I had a fun time growing up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're mine, right? They look a little bit.
Well, you were questioning your marriage before, so I just thought.
Well, she was dead at that point. In that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So I have these kids, and I know there's shit that is being pumped out in Hollywood right now that is just garbage. But
yeah, that's true.
It's not, and it's not for me. They're not making stuff for me anymore. I've come to that realization. They don't care about my opinion. I'm not the target demographic for any of these reboots, these requels, any of this stuff. Some of them may try, like Scream, the new Scream movie. They tried to, and they did. I thought they actually did a pretty good job. But the requels and stuff like that, most of the stuff is not for me, and I can recognize that. The Star Wars stuff, it's not for me. It's not for the original Star Wars fan. It's not for the prequel fans. It's not for any of those fans. It's for this new generation of people who just,
I would say it's just not for fans,
No, it's not for Star Wars fans. It's for other people. They're just trying to rope people who are not fans in, because they know that they're still going to make money from the fans, because the fans are going to take their kids and shit. Which is, I fell into that trap, right? So I allow, I'll watch this bullshit with my kids, like the Star Wars stuff, and I'll watch the Prey, for instance, or the Resident Evil. I watch that show with my kids because I'm like, well, maybe they'll like it. I know it's probably not for me, and it wasn't for me. But and I just actually read that the second season is probably not going to happen because it's nobody liked it. But I'll watch these movies with my kids because I know that it's for them, right? But I'll watch it to make sure if there's some gay shit in it, I'll be like, no. That's not for that's wrong. That's why I'm in the room to tell you that sort of shit is wrong. But so I watched this Prey movie with my youngest, and he just likes colorful, exciting, violence, gore, aliens, all that crazy stuff. So
did you watch it in between Eat and Love or no?
No. No, eat, pray, love. That's a different pray. I told V.
Oh, I'm
here
sorry.
here we go. I'm talking about my ex-girlfriend again. I told V that
So,
when
for
you said
everybody's
something-
knowledge, he told me about V also before the show.
I did.
I want to
talk
let
about V
everybody
before the
know.
show. I said kind things about V before the show.
Yeah, it's all
how I
kind.
told him this joke about how I often refer to him, and I told myself I sounded like the ex-girlfriend or the boyfriend who is talking about his ex-girlfriend all the time. But I told him the other day when we were talking about Prey. He said something about, "Oh, did you watch that stupid Prey movie? What's it? Something." I said, you know, that's why they call it Prey, because she better pray that she gets dinner done before the hunter-gatherers get back, right? So something along those lines. Anyways, I watched it, didn't hate it, and I thought, I went into it thinking, I'm like, this is gonna be a steaming pile of shit. It's gonna be some girl power movie, some Mary Sue bullshit, and just like everything else that comes out right now. But it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I will defend my answer if you'd have me. Will you have me? Will you
Sure.
indulge in my? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Can I just real quick, just so people know, it's not that Tom and I are just like bigoted old men. You know, it's at first, people don't know this. They had actually cast the Spice Girls as the staff, as the women of the tribe who were going to fight the predators, and that's you was very much. They said the movie was Pray for Girl Power was the initial that. So there's a backstory that Tom and I are aware of.
There was
that maybe
a
you're not.
parenthetical for girl power after it, but then they scrapped the girl power because it just didn't test well in the
exactly.
Yeah.
It was mostly Mel B. I'm not even sure which one that is.
I don't know either. Posh, Sporty.
Sure,
the baby.
one of them.
I know
Who's
those.
the ugliest one? I think Sporty had the most British teeth. I think.
I don't know. She was like the dark-skinned one, right?
No, that's Mel B.
Okay. Well, then there you go. There's your answer to whatever the question was. So
yeah, I don't even know what the question.
So here's my defense, right?
Okay.
People are like, how does this 120, if even that, probably 100-pound girl take down the predator, right? I think you have to understand.
So you're giving away that she does. Okay.
Well, everybody knows that she does because it's a girl power movie, right? So, yeah, spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear this, mute it, and then what I'll do is I'll do this whenever we're done talking about whatever spoiled, right? All right. And then, you know, I don't know how people who are just listening are going to know whether or not it's over, but mostly Wave said Sporty, Monkey, and Jonathan Davis, which was Spice Corn. That was the
Spicy Corn.
The Spice Corn when they merged for the family values Spice Girl or Spice the spicy values.
Dude, you know how there's all these DJs that do these remixes that everybody gets like so crazy for? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be pretty fucking cool if they just mixed Spice Girls and Corn together?
Now, one of my favorite mixes is when they mixed Taylor Swift and Disturbed. It was it was "We Are Never Getting Back Together" was the Taylor Swift song, and then it was "Down with the Sickness," and it was like "We Are Never, Never, Never Getting Down with the Sickness," and it was very good mix. I recommend looking it up. Look up Taylor Swift and Disturbed. We Are Never Getting Down with the Sickness.
That's fantastic.
Fun song. So I watched it, and spoiler alert, like I said, I'll wave when we're done spoiling.
Yeah.
And if you don't want this movie to be spoiled, Jerry, you can go ahead and tune out for a moment. What happens is this 100-pound girl, this is the argument, this 100-pound girl, how is she going to take down the Predator? The Predator is this fucking amazing alien hunter. They travel the universe, and they hunt, right, for sport,
That's
right?
right.
And it's like part of their culture and shit. And you're like, well, how does she do it? You know, how are you going to make sense that she did it? And I'll tell you, the answer is about 100 different men were slaughtered in like rapid succession, leading up to the point where she tricks the Predator into falling into the mud and being killed by Predator's own weapon. So she really didn't do anything. So girl power in this case was like just being able to stay away from the Predator long enough for him to be tired enough to where he would fall for a trap and then die.
So Tom, it sounds like you're saying to me, okay, that girl power has been reduced to how the Roadrunner manages to kill Wile E. Coyote.
That's okay. So you say that as a joke, Jerry.
No, I don't. I'm not, because I literally was hearing you say it, and I remembered like how many cartoons. Now, maybe not specifically that, right? But like how many cartoons where, let's say they have. Remember, they would have those holes to another dimension, but they'd like have them in their pocket, you know?
Yeah,
and they just like pull them out, and then whatever, you know, some character was running at them, big brutish or whatever, you know, whatever it was, and they just throw it on the ground, and then you just go, whoop,
right, yeah,
and they run or whatever, you know, yeah, very Roger Rabbit, that kind of thing. And I'm listening to you say it, and I go, she's just fucking Roadrunner. Like it's
she did.
It's not.
That's essentially so. Yeah. If you want to know how the movie Predator, Prey played out, it's essentially a Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote cartoon, because she just ends up out just existing the Predator. And so the thing about the Predator is he doesn't hunt things that are not a threat. He has to hunt things that he knows are a threat. Otherwise, it takes away from the fun of being a predator, right?
Oh, sure.
So she just continues to be this helpless damsel, like, oh, I can't do anything, you know, like, and he kills a bear, he kills a wolf, he fights a bear and a wolf, he fights a bunch of Frenchmen, he fights a bunch of Indians, he fights a bunch of, you know, and then he's like he fights more Frenchmen and more Indians, you know, like over the course of this whole movie. And then at the end, she's like the only interaction she has with Predator up until like the very end is her running away from the Predator. Like that's it. And then she runs and goes to a sand trap. The Predator falls in the sand trap, gets stuck, and then is killed by his own technology. So if you're like, well, how does this, oh, she's some Mary Sue or whatever. No, not really. She just like cheated to kill the Predator, or she used, and that's the thing about women. And I'll give women this: is they're cunning, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's what she
they
does.
They have to think around the fact that they can't, you know.
Right. That they're not strong. Yeah. You know, women, if you're not strong, you have to at least be cunning. Women are instinctively cunning.
Can I tell you what's fucked up about how you're saying this, though?
So, anyways, but I think that's the end of the whatever.
Well, I have to.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know.
Put it back then, right?
Yeah. Can I just say, while I agree, there's something good. Look, you need brains, you know, cunning, like all the, even different Westerns, like even men in the coolest ones have like little setups where they're like, they bring a guy into a room and they're like, I gotcha, you know, different, you know what I mean? So I'm not poo-pooing the...
That's the second time we've said poo-pooing on this episode.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Isn't that some shit? Okay.
Oh, poo-poo.
Heyo. So
Spelled
it's
with
not...
H, of course, so that doesn't play out, Jerry.
Oh no. It's...
Boo!
Poo-earns.
I'm going to go watch Prey because that's at least better than... It's like
at least that has a Wile E. Coyote ending or whatever.
I'll just immediately poo-poo on you so I can go watch yeah.
I mean, I did it, you know. So here's the thing, right? Nothing you told me until One Piece turned me off. Because I was like, oh, so it's going to be this violent movie. The Predator is showing what a Predator is, right? All right, that's all really cool. So a Predator kills a whole bunch of men, kills, like, bloody animal, you know. Mm-hmm. I don't mind that it's through the eyes of this girl. Who gives a shit, right? Like, that's fine, you know? But then you said to me, okay, the cunning part, also I'm down with that, you know? Look, you got to be cunning you got to win. Look, you know, there's just, I've met people who I thought could beat the shit out of me. I made fun of them instead, and at least even if I got the shit kicked out of me,
at least you got a few laughs. Yeah,
I got a few laughs. But then you said to me that she fled and never nothing you said indicated she worked as part of the team of her tribe and helped the men not die. So in other words,
yeah,
she could have said, guys, I've realized that he doesn't want to touch, you know, things that he thinks are weak or whatever. Why don't we have him, you know,
work with
I'm
us.
Over here.
Yeah. Let's team up.
Work with me on this.
Yeah.
And we'll just get him in a sand trap and then y'all can like live, right?
She doesn't present that information to anybody until she and her brother are tied up on a post or whatever, and then she's like, and then that's when she like spills the beans, right? She tells her brother, and she's watched like a ton of her Comanche brothers like
they're all just
get
dead.
slaughtered. Yeah, and it, like she like whispers to her brother who's tied up on the post, "Oh, he doesn't see us as a threat. He's gonna fuck off because like he doesn't attack people who aren't a threat." And he's just like, "What?" And then and then he goes on to continue to be a threat, to like loudly be a threat to the predator. And so it's like, I get what you're saying. She was very selfish in that way. Yeah, but I will say that
that's cunty stuff.
Yeah, she's all, that's another thing that women are. If women are not, women are cunning, but they're also cunty, right? They're cunning and they're cunty, right? So she does allow a lot of other people to die rather than being like, hey, put your fucking gun down or put your bow in. For the Frenchmen, she let them shoot or whatever.
For the Frenchmen, they're like, stop smoking in front of him.
Right? Yeah, don't do that. Or hey, put your bow and arrow down or put your tomahawk down or whatever. She never tells them that, because that is literally like she at times like just stood there and didn't do anything, and the predator was like, all right, no fun in that. Like, and they make it very clear. There's a lot of callbacks to like the whole movie itself is set up in such a way where you're like, oh, that's why they spent so much time here, or that's why. It's very lazy in that way. But yeah, I think it's a very beautifully done movie. But and aside from all the shit that I just, what you've picked from what I said that was perhaps negative, I thought it was okay. I even went into it thinking it was pretty shitty, or that it was going to be a waste of my time. But I came out of it like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, that was fine. But it was, the parts where like the predator is fun. If you can just like ignore anything that you don't want to see, like there was no gay stuff in it, which was a huge win, right? Like, you can't watch a movie now where there's not a gay guy.
Tom,
right?
I have to stop you. I'm sorry. Okay. Excuse me. I have to stop you.
The predator is non-binary? Is that what you're going to tell me?
Well, the predator is gay.
Don't tell me that.
Well, Tom, it's all in what you just said to me. Now, metaphors are still a thing. They're still something that can be used, right, to storytell. You just told me, as soon as the predator got near a girl,
he ran away.
He fell in a pit and died from his own weapon, which,
That to me sounds a little bit more like, what do they call it? Not simping. What's the one we did that guy who... it's a big thing where you can't talk to girls, right? And you
cannot.
It's not a simp. It's,
a MGTOW?
No. You know what I'm talking about? Somebody in the chat's going to know what I'm talking about, where you're just like so shitty at talking to women. Incel, that's the one.
Yes, right.
That's so the predator is an incel.
Yeah. Okay, so he's not gay, he's an incel. Okay.
Efren says no gay people. What about the French? And mostly he came through. He came in. And then,
dude,
Efren
we woke
Flores.
Up the chat.
Efren Flores and Megabit are like cut from the same cloth, because it's like no gay people. What about the French? And then Megabit says no gays. Hello, Frenchmen. And then Megabit had earlier said Frenchman a threat. And yes, they weren't really. And that's the thing. Like, so if you ignore everything else about the Predator movie, like the girl being the protagonist or whatever, and like her somehow eventually killing the predator, if you can ignore all that and just enjoy it for the shoot 'em up kind of like stabby, gory explosions, there's a lot of really cool gore, and the predator just like making quick work out of everybody.
That's where I'm down with that.
It's a fun little movie if you can just so you're already asked to suspend your belief, right? Because it's the predator, right? Like,
no, I believe they're real.
So most people don't, right? So you're already being expected to suspend disbelief.
Did you know that they tried to pull that shit off? Did you know that?
No. What?
Okay, you remember that guy who did the documentary Missing 411 or whatever it was?
I'm aware of that program. Yeah.
Okay, so he made a second movie.
Missing 412. No, stupid. It's Missing 511.
No, it was Missing 411, and then it was the 411 on the missing, right?
he moved to the ghetto. Or he moved
Yeah.
to the city, and now
He's like, I've got all these missing people in Los Angeles. Yeah, I bet you do. It's called child trafficking. So, I mean, really, you know. But so his other
everyone's name is Hector.
Oh no. Oh goodness. So he made 2 movies. Wait, let me see what the second one, because that's the one. Wow, it comes up 3rd on Amazon Prime. That's incredible. Okay, The Hunted. Okay, Missing 411, The Hunted. All right.
Oh.
So what they purport to bring forth as evidence, because no one has ever messed with video ever, right?
Yeah.
Was because people keep saying, well, what do you think it is that keeps taking these people? You know, because I don't know if you remember all about the 411, but basically it's like, all right, someone went hunting, or someone went hiking, or someone went,
and they just
you know, whatever, and they're just gone, right? And then sometimes they come back, you know, and there's all these commonalities, like their shoes and clothes are left folded somewhere else, and different all that stuff, right? So at the end, dude, I got into that for so long. I was so into that shit. I was like, where are these people going? Anyway, the long and the short of it is, at the end of The Hunted, this woman shows video footage, and you could you know how, like, when the predator's invisible?
Mm-hmm.
It was that. I wish I could show you right now. I wish I
believe you. I can imagine it. The cloak.
I don't want to get us clips, you know, but it's literally, they're just like, oh yeah, dude, totally. You have to. He's like, I have this footage, and you're not gonna believe this shit, kind of thing.
Sounds like Zach Baggins.
Dude, I mean, he's a lot, you know, because he's like this old school cop who still has a mustache. So you're like, all right, you know.
I believe him.
He doesn't talk like he doesn't talk like Zach Baggins, you know. So and of course he's written like 77 volumes of this, because they're books, you know.
Yeah.
It's like 77 volumes of this shit, and 2 movies, and a website, and a YouTube channel, and you just go, well, he can't be fucking around now, right? You know what I mean? Like, at this point is when you're gonna bullshit me, like, or whatever. And then there's this video.
So you believe the Predator is a real thing?
Well, I mean, come on, dude. I mean, why would they lie to us?
I think so. Here's my take on it. Right? It's all real. Every last little thing about it. I thought for the longest time, I was confusing Missing 411 and that SCP, whatever, where they had like the fake monsters, and they would like do fake case files on these monsters and shit. So I didn't know the difference between the two. Because what I watch on YouTube, it's like I strictly watch Predator shows. I don't watch anything else anymore. I told you that new Predator show? Did you watch that
new
guy
one's
yet?
Awesome.
I love it. He's so good.
I watched every
What's
single
it called?
video already.
Me too. Contempt for Creeps. He's so cool because
so
like
good.
I sent it to Megabit and he fucking blew me off. He was just like, "Fuck you, I'm not watching it."
Oh,
He's like, "I'm
what?
so caught up with Protect the Innocent and her OnlyFans or whatever." But this new Contempt for Creeps is like he calls the cops. And like he like makes fun of the Predator, and he like chases him around, and he's like, "Oh, this guy fucking." He tells everyone that he comes across, "Hey, this guy tried to come out to have sex with somebody or whatever." And like he'll make a
get a good
scene.
look.
Yeah, look at his face. Look at his fucking face, right? And he makes this whole scene like wherever he goes.
So good.
And then when the cops show up, he doesn't treat the cops well. He treats the cops poorly. Like, it's like he was like, I thought that first one. I thought
when he was at Target, and he was like, "Fuck you! You don't have a right.
Yeah.
You can't. This is public. He has no expectation of
privacy."
privacy.
This is you're just recommending. These are not laws. These are your recommendations. So go fuck yourself. I'm gonna walk over here. Get the fuck out of my face. You know, he's telling the sergeant to get out of his face. And then he's like, "If you fucking touch me, I'll fuck you up." You know, he's like, he goes nuts. And and this attitude, you know, and like after a couple of them, he's like, "All right, hey, I know I like kind of went overboard on that first one," but then like the cops start acting fucked up towards him again, and he starts acting fucked up towards the cops again, which is awesome, and I love that. I think that's amazing. I think it adds this whole new dynamic to the Predator catching thing. So I sing his praises any chance I get. I think that Contempt for Creeps is like going to be the show.
So good.
It's going to be the one to watch.
So good.
But yeah, I had confused them for the longest time, and I never really got into the missing 411. But I will say that there's so much. I talked to my pastor about this today because I have my weekly meeting with him. And today was my last one because I needed my evaluation from him. But I said there are just some things that we're not allowed to know, right? And as much as like, you know, I'm sure people find out that stuff, you know, through divination, and they find it for. Stefan just said, "Let me find out." No, he's not really. He's not really on the OnlyFans. I was just kidding because he ignored me. I had to like bring him down. But
yeah,
I
really.
talked to him. I said, there's things that we're just not allowed to know, and as much as like science goes after it, sovereign citizen predator catcher. As much as we try, the science is trying to figure out this stuff with the Large Hadron Collider, and then you have all these people come down. You know, the Large Hadron Collider fucks up, and a bunch of people end up dying, or they end up with like a very aggressive cancer when they're trying to do these like manipulative playing God, trying to find out the secrets of the universe. I think that's divine punishment. And then you also have like. You know, you've got people who do divination, and they're sort of protected by that evil, dark, artsy stuff or whatever. They're able to get that information, which is why I don't talk to Dave about certain things. Dave has come a long way from the Dave I met to the Dave that we know now. He actually, like, runs a soup kitchen. So, like, I'll say, like, all the nice things about Dave because... And he's actually got me somewhat convinced about... He and I are on similar pages about this whole anarchy initiative. He called me an anarcho-Christian, and I said, you know what? That sounds about right. Because he kind of explained the thing to me, and I was
Dude, it's actually...
I mean... I'm kind of into that. So, I'm moving further and further away towards Dave politically, which is kind of fucked up. I never thought I'd be there. But Dave and I are on somewhat similar pages as far as our political ideologies. There's some kind of overlapping gray area between anarcho-communism and anarcho-Christianity. So I'm kind of there with him. And he's out there feeding the homeless, and what am I doing? I'm sitting here talking shit.
Dude, you're getting ripped is what you're doing. So
yeah, I guess I'm. You know, now that I'm no longer obese, I can actually sit here and like flex on these bitches, right? But no, I told my pastor, I said, you can't. There are some things that we just can't know, and the people who do know those things are people who have had to make certain sacrifices spiritually in order to obtain that information. I don't need to know that stuff because if I'm not supposed to know that stuff, I'm not going to go looking for it. You know, if I'm stopped at a certain point, and I kind of know the breaking points where I'll hit a wall and I'm like, well, maybe I'm just not supposed to know any more than that. And I accept that. So I think that there's a lot to do with interdimensional stuff. There's a lot of like whether or not extraterrestrial has this interdimensional factors, whether or not interdimensional is like, not only do we like not understand interdimensional travel or interaction, but you know, we're not supposed to, and therefore like we don't know the complexities of interdimensionality. And so there's a certain point where I'm like, all that stuff that like we don't understand, but like we see kind of this, like you talk about missing 411, the folded clothes and people showing up elsewhere. It's probably a lot more complicated than we think, where it's like this simple, like you zip in and out of, you know, these dimensions or whatever. Dude, it's got to be way more complicated than that. So I'm not, Tom Miller, a guy who studied business administration and divinity, right? You know, like these are things that I'm probably not going to be able to know unless I sacrifice, like sell my soul to some kind of demonic entity. And through divination and tarot card reading and all the shit that I promised myself I would never do, I would have to go those avenues. And when Dave tells me something, I'm like, hold up, before you go too deep in this, how did you obtain this information? Because I may not be allowed to hear this. And so he's been very cool about, like, if something, he obtained it through nefarious ways or whatever, he won't tell me, and he knows not to bring it up. But like, if it's something that he obtained legitimately, he will often, like, he'll give me the stuff that somebody else obtained where maybe how they got it was different. So he's very cool in that way. But go ahead, you were saying something about how like the confusing like interdimensional, how confusing interdimensional travel is.
Yeah.
Fill us in. Explain it to us, Jerry. Give us mathematic equations.
Dude, I'm so glad you brought it up, because you had said like, oh, you know, LOL 411 is the predator. You know, it's funny. The answer is that the predator is actually a weak piece of shit, a Gil Gunderson in his own time, right? And so he just comes here.
Oh, so that
He's
he
like,
can feel
oh
superior.
yeah, yeah, because do you know this? Human beings, okay?
Mhm.
There's a problem with men and women, and this is what it is. Women are attracted to men who have proven themselves to women. And what I mean by that is there's like hormones, like pheromones, all that kind of stuff that kind of comes off of you.
Yeah.
Like that, there's a reason why women are attracted to men who get laid all the time. It's because they're good at it. It's because they have the smell of other, like guys who like, even though dad bods, that was probably just like a psyop to let women accept that.
And
Dude,
and
it's
to
probably
get fat people to, or get people to be fat, be okay with
yeah,
being
they're just
fat,
like,
right?
oh well, dad bods are fine. That's okay. Uh, like that. So even though that was probably a psyop or whatever, women do tend to, like, a guy can't be like a raging asshole, so to speak, or like really fugly maybe, but as soon as you have like kids and stuff, or if you're married, like that to a woman, they're like, whether they recognize it or not, they're sitting there internally somewhere going, oh, he's some other woman, some other member of my part of the side of
Right.
the coin said, oh, I want to breed with him. Well, then why should not? Like, what is, you know what I mean? Now there's that little bit of interest. And then secondarily, if you don't get laid for a while, you actually just kind of smell like different.
A loser. Yeah.
Yeah, you smell like a loser. You literally smell like, what you've done in your socks by yourself. You know what I mean? And women can pick that up. So the predator actually is a travel agent back at his house, in his own world, and it's looked upon poorly. They're like, why are you? We travel interdimensionally. What? There's no. I don't even get flyer mile. What are you talking about? And people hate him. Just he's a loser. And then he comes here and he's like, I could murder hundreds of
Yeah.
people, take
Makes
them.
sense. I buy it.
I could take them back to my house, show them my nice place, which is nicer than here, and he gets laid, and it helps him back on his planet. That's all.
Yeah, Abernathy Jones makes a good point. He says it's like trying to get a job when you don't have one. It's easy when you're
That's right.
employed. Yeah, it's the
That's
same
right.
thing. You don't.
That's exactly right.
You have that confidence about you where you're like, I can get laid,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And people know that. They see that and they're like, oh, that's a guy who doesn't need me, so I
That's
want
right.
him. And so it's funny because I brought this up to Superfan one time. Superfan and I were on the road together, and this is a true story. We were on the road together, and I pointed out he's also married. And I said to him, I was talking to somebody else. Fuck it. I was talking to V because V was there were like four of us on the road, and
Totally
it was me, V, Superfan, and my brother. And I was talking about being married and how like women tend to like all of a sudden they instinctively like flock to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it is. And I said it's a thing. And Superfan and I were the only ones who were married at the time. And so I said, I don't know what it is, but once they see that ring draws them in because they're like, okay, this is a guy who, and like you said, when you've got kids, they're like, this is a guy who fucks. Not only
Right.
that, but this is a guy who fucks and then takes care of the kid, right? You could abandon that kid and you could just disappear. And most women, truthfully, they just don't care. And that's the fucked up state that we're in, right?
Yeah, we're bad.
But there's some women who just don't care, and they're just like, "Well, I'll take care of this kid, and it'll be fine because, I'll have my husband pay for, like, I'll have my husband pay for this kid, right, and adopt this kid, and pretend it's his." So, like, a lot of them don't care. Even like single mothers, they don't
Didn't
care.
you hear that there was like 20 some odd % of kids are being raised by not their parents?
Yeah,
Like
it's
because
so
of
crazy.
cheating and shit.
Yeah,
It's like some crazy number.
Horrible. I would be
Like it
furious.
shouldn't even be 1%, and it's like I feel like it's low double digits.
I believe it. I believe it because like if I couldn't look at my kids and be like, oh, those are my kids, right?
Right.
Like if I couldn't tell, I would be like the first person to be like, all right, I gotta get a DNA test on this little motherfucker, right? But I don't because I look at my kids, and I'm like, those are my kids, and they just look like me. I can see myself in them.
Same beards.
But yeah, they all have full beards and shit, and very like prominent eyebrows. But like women, they like instinctively flock to to the wedding ring, right? Like they see it and they're like, this guy fucks, this guy has something, he has something locked down, he's got a stable life. Because if you're wearing the ring, it means you've got a stable life. You don't see like people like look around and if you look at like douchebags who don't have anything, you know, like they're married but they don't have like a solid situation going on, they take the ring off and they throw it out, right? It's a symbol of like, hey, I'm in a committed relationship, I'm doing good things, and I'm taking care of what's mine. And they see that, and women are cunning and they're cunty, right? So they want that for themselves, if only for a moment, right? They're like, okay, I want in on that because this is a guy who I know he's got something special.
Dude, Tom, can I prove it to you? Can I even go a step further?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Right? And this, I know we got to get to the will be
because I feel terrible after saying like horrible things about women just now. But
dude, personal experience? Okay, I was 18 years old, and I had quit a job, and I was leaving the job, and there was this woman there, and I say woman because I was like 18, she was mid to late 20s, and she had a boyfriend that she lived with and had 2 kids with. Okay. And it was my last day. So I go knock on her office door and I'm like, hey, just wanted to say, you know, see ya. Nice to, know you and all that shit. And at the time I smoked. So she said, oh, let's go out to the dock. We'll have a smoke and then, go on your way.
You can go fuck yourself. Yeah.
Right. Get on out of here. Sure. And I said, okay. And so we go out in the dock. She says, you know what? Let me get that cigarette, will you? And so I'm smoking it, and I okay. This is before Coop. I mean, I would never do that now, But so
I don't know what your deal is. I share blow pops with people. Like people don't even know. I'll just hand it. Hey, go ahead. Hand it back to me. There's like a hair on it, and I still put it in my mouth.
Yeah, this is first.
No, I just swallow it.
Oh, you just
I'm a sick bastard, dude. You don't know that about me. Like I'm a total germaphobe.
Say you're down.
Yeah. Like I was a total germaphobe going into COVID. Now that COVID has hit, I'm just like, I'll just start licking doorknobs now because I'm invincible. I've come to learn that I'm invincible. They should be studying my blood because I'm like invincible. I've not been touched by the coof. I have not been vaccinated. I've not nothing. So anyways.
Yeah. I mean, you are a fine specimen. You are just, amazing. So
Critter said something in the chat and it didn't translate over to my. You guys need to know this. I can't see what you guys say something. YouTube, the live feed publishes it. So I can see it in little bitty tiny letters, but I can't read what you're saying.
I've seen things on your screen
but it doesn't translate over to the chat because all of a sudden YouTube cuts it off. They're like, oh, this has got a swear word in it, or this has got some gross stuff in it. So they don't share it with us. So whatever Critter said, she said something that Abernathy said, gross critter, that's sad. And Abernathy has like a high tolerance for gross shit. So now I gotta know what Critter said. Need to know. So if you could edit whatever you said in such a way that we can
use like asterisks and numbers.
I don't know what you gotta do, but we'll read it as soon as I can see it. Anyways, Jerry, go ahead. You're talking about her smoking a cigarette and putting her lipstick.
Well, it was my cigarette. She asked me for it, and I gave it to her. And she smoked it, and then she gave me the cigarette back, and she said, do you want to know why I asked you for that? I said, because you wanted to drag, And she goes, I wanted to know what it tastes like in your mouth.
Oh, man.
And I was like, what? And then she came on to me, and all this sort of stuff, and we start.
Did you put the cigarette down the back of your pants?
I had my dick smoke it, and
Well, I was gonna say putting it in your ass and then handing it back to her. Here's what the inside of my ass tastes like, and she willingly smokes the cigarette with your ass all over it.
And then I take it back, forgetting, and I just start smoking again.
It's got lipstick. It's got doo doo. It's got poo poo on it. It's got
poo poo.
It's got pubic hairs on it. It's got
let me get a hit of that gum. Oh, I see.
Because I was handing the candy back and forth between somebody.
I haven't seen any messages from Mike. I think it's because he's jabbed.
It's been a long time. It's because he's jabbed. Last thing we saw from you, Mike, was he's getting Canadian jabbed next week, right? And
yeah. I have to say, I think for Mike, I hit, and I don't want to listen. I don't want to keep up with this, but I've heard that again, not only are you 15 seconds behind the rest of the world as you knew it, But on top of it, if you try to press like send, you're so weak that it doesn't actually. They're like, oh, what a, what a, what a, what
I
a,
think the
what
term
a
that you're looking
wuss.
for is, oh yeah, wuss. That was what I was gonna say.
What a wuss.
What a wimp.
What a wimp.
What a wimp
What a
loser baby is what.
yeah. What a guy who can't press send. Imagine that.
Oh, easy.
Sorry, I don't. Canadian is a dirty
Wimp
well.
loser baby. One time, my English teacher, called somebody a wimp loser
Oh,
baby.
oh, dude, but
and
I
it
have to
became
tell.
my favorite insult. Go ahead.
Is that
Keep
real?
talking.
Oh yeah. So the last thing, I just want to take. Long story short, for like a week, she starts coming. I'm still living at home. I'm still living in. I hang out in my basement of my parents live there, right? Like this is not. So she starts coming over after her shift, which is like middle of the night, and banging my brains out and stuff, right?
Nice.
And she brought me birthday presents and stuff. Now, I didn't ask about the status of her relationship. You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't ask you this stuff. I don't know. Like, you're just trying to get with me now. Okay, whatever. And then she said, and then she told me that she still lived with the guy, and that she had to go home before he woke up or some other kind. And I was like, what the fuck, right? And then, dude, this is how I couldn't handle it. I was like, I didn't even know this. You got kids with this dude? What the fuck? Then she says,
one of them is yours.
no, this was great. Because this is the kind of scumbag men are, even if, like, because as you're growing up, like, I was like, this is unacceptable. Now finish sucking my dick, and then we're going to talk about this. Whatever,
Why would you bring this up in the middle? Come on, finish, and then we'll deal with
Yeah,
this.
I mean, why would you? This is unreal.
And then by then you're disgusted. You're just like, oh, get out of my house.
Now I'm just twice as hard. What did you do? Anyway. So
You
now.
have kids at home.
Yeah.
Do it again.
No, so then, dude, okay. So things we're done or whatever. And then she goes, why don't you come over to my house sometime? And I go, well, maybe it's because you live with your fucking boyfriend and this, right? And she goes, well, I want you to meet my kids. And I go, I'm 18, like about to start a new job. Dude, your kids have mouths. Your kids, I said, like, just on the base level, to forget how fucked up that is, right? I go, your kids will see me, and then they will say to their father, Dad, did you know that guy who came home with Mom? Or whatever? And that's it. Like, forget about my own morality on the situation. Like, you're trying to put me in harm's way because you want me to replace their dad or some weird shit. I never agreed to this. You just took my cigarette and said you wanted to taste my mouth and stuff. And this is, I'm like 18 and I'm just like, wow, this is cool. She literally bought me a carton of cigarettes and food on my birthday. And then, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, all right, let's.
One time, here's a funny story.
And that's a person. That's a person that existed and is real, Tom.
Here's a funny story. No, I've almost identical situation. There's this chick. Her name was Jennifer Beavers, which is really funny because Beavers is a really funny last name.
I love that now.
And
it ties back to the Mel Gibson movie we talked about.
Yeah,
that Jodie Foster.
Yeah, except it was me who I'm not a racist person, so like you can't. There's no connection
No,
there.
you do have a beaver that you play with.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, I have played with a beaver before, but no, there's this girl. Her name. She was 26 and I was 19. I was like freshly 19. We had just gotten back from Iraq.
Wow,
and,
this is really
and I think we had. This is even before I went to New Orleans. Like this is like right before New Orleans, because I deployed to New Orleans during the hurricanes, Rita and Katrina and all that shit. And like right before that went down, I was hanging out with this chick. I'd met her when I would hang out at Logan's, the Roadhouse or whatever. But she would let me drink because like I was like kind to her. I don't know how I don't know how that friendship blossomed or whatever. But yeah, she started letting me drink or whatever. And she was like 26. I was, like I said, I was 19, 20, maybe older. But she had a kid and she had adopted her nephew. So she ended up having like 2 kids because her brother or sister, whoever went to jail. Anyways, she was dating a guy.
They were off doing cooler shit.
Yeah, I don't know who it was. But she had a boyfriend who was an infantryman, and he was like always in the field. And that was the thing about infantry, right? You're always in the fucking field. And like me, I was not always. I would always go back to the troop, and I would just hang out there, or go home and just chill out, and then just show up at like 6 a.m. when they were out in the field, and they'd call the troop, and they'd be like, hey, bring such and such out. I'll be like, oh, I'm just waking up here. I'm on the cot. Oh, but meanwhile, I'm like I'm still drunk or whatever. But anyways, they so like we'd go out drinking or whatever, and her boyfriend was an infantryman, and he was always in the field, so she was unsatisfied. Old Tom Miller made that happen, and there were like it was so it's so funny. Me and a buddy of mine, I don't want to say his name. I don't say his name because he's still like
do not do it.
But he's still a very good friend of mine. He and I would always pal around, and I was like, hey, we got to go over to this chick's house. And he's like, I'm down. Whatever. He's like, he was never like the guy who was like, is there going to be a chick for me? No, he was just like, I'm down. Like, I'll just go do whatever. He's like, I'll just watch TV. You know, I don't care.
Sure.
Really cool guy. And to this day, very cool guy still. But we went over there. I met up with her, and she's like, hey, I'm thinking about going out to the club. Do you want to go with? And it's like 11 o'clock. I got work at I got to be there at 6:30 for PT. I'm like, no. That is a no-go for me. I'm very I'm very sleepy. And she's like, well, tell you what, just go to sleep. When I come back, we'll knock it out. I said, okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. She comes back at about 2. We knocked it out. That was that. Next thing I know, well, it was days later, we're at the bar, and she's the bartender, and her boyfriend comes in, sits down next to me, and I'm sitting there, I'm chatting it up with him or whatever. She's like, oh, this is my boyfriend, so-and-so. I don't remember his name. Never committed it to memory. And I was like, oh, very cool, very cool. Hey, it's good to meet you or whatever. He's like, hey, I appreciate you always looking out for my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. You know, she told me that you helped her move one time or whatever, which I did. And I appreciate you looking out for my girlfriend while I'm out, you know, while I'm doing shit or whatever. I was like, hey, you know, not a problem. Totally neglecting to mention the fact that I had fucked his girlfriend without a rubber like several times, right? And so that's the sort of thing that women do that, you know, people are like, man, you guys are being pretty harsh about women today, especially with this whole Prey movie or whatever. Women are cunning. Women are cunty. But men, on the other hand, on the same hand, are equally as shitty, right? Like
both of us in both of those situations could have been like, dude, come on,
we were the bad guys in those situations. Like everybody was a bad guy in that situation, except for the boyfriends, you know, other than whatever. Anyways, that was just so that like in case you like walked away from here being like, man, I was a bad person. No. We all did it when we were 19, 18, 19, whatever. We all did it. We were all there. Not all of us put a cigarette down into our butt cheeks and like handed it to this chick and was like, hey, this is what the inside of my ass tastes like. Not all of us did that. But
dude, can I tell you this, by the way?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
We've shared something here today, right? And I think it humanizes us. It shows we are not the infallible gods that everybody thinks on this show. Right? But also, I think that we've managed to be able to confess something uncomfortable about our past, right? In such a way that in spite of the negativity that it could otherwise bring to us, it's still not nearly as bad
as Hunter Biden.
Dude, as the PSA type videos I've been seeing from gay dudes literally showing the sores all over their face. Man. Trying to be proud of
all the shitty stuff
now.
that I did in those days, I never got a disease.
No,
and I was like very careful, right? I would go, I wasn't very careful, but like later on,
you literally just told the story.
I just told you that I didn't wear a rubber when I was fucking some chick who was like had a boyfriend or whatever, who was also probably just as gross and was probably fucking dudes out in the field.
Probably,
yeah. Well, I mean, we know infantrymen. But yeah, I would get tested, right? Pretty, not like super regularly, but every year I would go in and I'd be like, hey man, like, or if I had any kind of twinge, I'd go in and I'd get tested. I'd be like, is there something wrong with me? No, you're good. There's nothing showed up on the thing. Okay, cool. Got AIDS tested. Nope. Cool. Got it. Now, like for 16 years, I haven't had to worry about that, but you know, I was very careful in those days to like
Sure.
follow up, right? Because I was being reckless. I was being dangerous before certainly before I started dating, you know, reputable women like my wife. Anyways,
Right. Like,
do we got some whoobies, Jerry? Do we got to talk about some whoobies?
Yes, we do. Now, I will say, I would love it if I could take a quick 2 minutes.
Yeah. To take a little leak.
A little leak.
Take a leak. All
yes,
right.
if that.
You know what?
And
I feel bad. I still haven't created an intermission, so instead you'll get this.
Ready to rock.
Are you ready to say something racist, Jerry? Go ahead.
When am I not saying something about those? Hey, everybody. Anyway. Whoa. Diddle diddle doo.
All right, let's talk about the whoobies. You know, it's funny.
Right.
I see Critter Me Timbers is like, yeah, I got all these married men or whatever hitting me up, and you know, then I immediately thought of like, remember that Obi-Wan meme where he's like, or shows the line where he's like, "Of course I know him. He's me." You know.
No.
Are you talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi? He's like, "Of course he knows. That's me." That's what I thought of when I saw Critter said, you know, I got all these married men hitting me up, and I'm like, of course I know him. He's me. All right, Jerry, let's talk about the whoobies.
Yeah, dude. I'm also looking. I'm like, she said I had six or seven men up in my wazoo, and I'm like, wait, like,
she said not literally, but chasing.
Like for an interview? Or what do you mean?
No,
you know?
Come on, Critter Me Timbers. She's a classy.
No, I said
broad,
for an interview.
Right?
Why would you not interview them? That's how you know.
Well,
all right.
I had never interviewed women. I was just like, hey, do you want to hit up the bathroom? That was the interview, and if they said yes, then they got the job, right? No, come on.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Gross.
Tom, here we go. I think you're going to. I think you may like these. I don't know. I'm having
like
my.
all the whoobies. I think they're all.
I'm having my second high noon. I don't know.
Oh.
I'm gonna let it ride. You know what I'm talking about?
Do what we can.
So here we go. Couple sentenced to prison after husband gave a minor blank and blank Okay. And blanked her in her home filled with blank. This one's
man.
incredible. Yeah, this is, I'm telling you. Yeah, this is good. I mean,
like,
it's awful as
if the
most, you know.
if the headline itself
Mhm.
included all those blanks,
Right.
part of me would be like, would still be pretty impressed by that, right? Because like, who knows?
Dude.
Like, I would click on that article because I'd be like, I gotta know.
Right.
Couple sentenced to prison after husband gave minor blank and blank
Mhm.
and blanked her in her home filled with blank. Right? Like,
Mhm.
who knows, right? It could be. Sounds terrible. It sounds awful.
Yeah, it's really bad. But,
All right,
you know.
couple sentenced to prison after husband gave minor. I don't know. This is too many. This is too many.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah, hold on. Okay.
A lot to take on at once.
Couple sentenced to prison after husband gave minor. I would say horse semen. No, I'm just kidding. It's always horse semen, right?
I knew it was coming.
And fingered her in her home filled with horse semen. No, that can't be it. That can't be it, right?
I mean, anything's possible.
Might be. Who knows? It is 2022.
That's right.
Stranger things have happened. I'm waiting for somebody in the chat to say something funny so I can steal it. Like I do. I stole it for the description. I didn't do the description until like today or yesterday, and I used the "Fire to Randy" from the food court. I thought that was really funny.
That's good.
So I put that as one of our things that we did. All right, couple sentenced to prison after husband gave minor. Oh man,
It's a lot. It's daunting, isn't it? Like you just because the first two you think set up dominoes for the next and stuff.
yeah,
and
but it probably has nothing to do with that, right? Like, did this take place? Can you tell me where this took place to give me kind of like a hint?
Bexley, Ohio.
Oh, so it's in Ohio. Oh, that
Yeah.
doesn't help me much. I mean, I know it's going to be some really crazy banana stuff. All right. Couple sentenced to prison after husband gave minor rat poison and gopher poison and poisoned her home filled with
Poison.
With poison. I was gonna say I was trying to think of another animal. Rabbit poison. Yeah, it's just like a bunch of poison. Yeah. Is that how close am I? But that sounds like the sort of thing that Ohio would do. But also it might be. It might also be Jim Jordan and his family. So it would be like couple sentenced to prison after husband gave minor
their own haircut.
Yeah, I don't know. I could go on for days. The thing about Ohio is it's just an awful place, but it's what I call home. What can I say?
Hey,
no, I'm
you know
actually Kentuckian, so fuck Ohio. That's why I said all that shit about poison. Go ahead.
So the actual, I almost sounded like the price. The actual retail price. The actual headline. Couple sentenced to prison after husband gave minor alcohol and ecstasy and raped her in home filled with cameras. And therefore also distributed child pornography. Now, Tom, you might think, what could Jerry possibly say about this shit? Well, one of the victims who, whoopsie. one of the victims who came forward, which is how they got caught. Oh, it wasn't police work.
It never is, unless it's like an iPad in a river.
That's right. That's right. So she said, very young, innocent, right? Very ignorant of the ways of evil. You know what I mean? And she said, well, they got me to come in by the alcohol, and then they told me that there might be some sex and ecstasy. And I thought, well, the ecstasy must be really related to sex. Turns out that's not true. It had nothing to do with it. It was rape. That actually was kind of bad. It was quite. I'm sorry, I fucked it up. Excuse me.
It was still funny because I was imagining her being like, "Well, the rape was the good part."
Yeah, no. It turns out the ecstasy had nothing to do with it. It was rape. It was actually quite painful.
Especially with the ecstasy, she could like smell the pain.
The ecstasy was afterwards to help
You
with
didn't
the
get
pain. It was to help with the pain of the awful rape.
You don't get the ecstasy until after you take your rape.
That's right.
Honey,
Yeah.
You've barely touched your rape.
You know, Tom, sometimes it's a carrot and a stick. Other times it's ecstasy and a rapey dick.
Honey, You've hardly touched your rape. So terrible.
Yes, your rape has gone cold. All right.
What are you, not hungry?
Yeah. Are you another H? Horny, maybe? All right. All right. Here we go.
All right. Enough joking about minors being raped. That's not awful. Like our
And
show
having
has
a
been
child
reduced.
You know what dude, when I go through these, like, you remember how you said, like, oh, maybe there's just some things I'm not supposed to know because people get, like, they track down these child predators. They have to pretend to be, you know, gay minors and this sort of all this stuff. And there's just no way we could possibly know what it's like to live like that, like having to do it, you know. And I don't want to equate that because me making jokes about really awful shit is not the same as taking predators off the streets. Somehow it's not. But the point I guess I'm trying to make to you is, like, I read these, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part of my brain that I have to switch on and go, all right, that's really awful shit. How do I possibly? You know what I mean? And then it's almost like I have to challenge myself to try to be like, oh yeah, here's something really reprehensible. Let's find the humor in that, you know? So okay.
And then it's like, oh, Tom will find something funny to say in these.
Oh yeah,
blanks.
Tom will laugh.
A minor rat poison and regular poison and poisoned her in her home filled with rat poison. There's nothing funny about that. It's just a bunch of poison jokes.
I've honestly written this down sometimes. Like I'll go, yeah, Tom will get that. He'd understand. You know?
And then I make jokes about, honey, you've hardly touched your ecstasy. You've hardly touched your rape.
You've hardly touched your rape. All right, here we go.
Gross.
Here we go.
All right.
Man who helped blank. No, wait. No, wait. I'm rethinking this. Oh, man who helped bankroll blank wannabe blank. These are all descriptors. Okay. So I'm going to do it again. I know it's a little confusing. Man who wanted to bankroll. In other words, he's trying to fund this particular person. Blank wannabe blank is sentenced to 11 years.
You know, there was a time that I thought 11 years was like a long time. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But now, like, we see stuff like Ghislaine Maxwell get 20 years, and it's, you know, and I'm like, well, and then everyone's like, well, that's hardly any time at all. I mean, that's a lot of time, long time. I think I listened to Pop 2K on Sirius XM, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they were doing like the 2002 or 2001. You know what? It was 2000. Yeah. Anyways, 2002, around that time.
Yes.
They were doing that this week, and I don't know what their structure is because I don't like listen to them consistently enough to be like, oh, on Wednesdays they do this, or on Tuesdays they do such and such. But they were playing stuff from like 2002 in that time frame, and I was like, man, that was 20 years ago. Hardly seems like a blink of an eye since we heard for the first time Nelly's Country Grammar, right? You know, like boom. Since we heard it, going down baby, don't street in a Range Rover, boom boom baby, or what? I don't remember how the fucking song goes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that was like hardly seems like a blink of an eye. It was like 20 some years ago. You know,
we've changed. You know,
we've come so far, and
so loud.
So, well, some of us have. While our boyfriends were in the field and shit.
Yeah, as long as there's X. Oh, yeah, I can't.
Man who helped bankroll. I've got something like I don't know why I instinctively did this, but I'm committed to it because I wrote it down. Man who helped bankroll mumble rapper wannabe make it big is sentenced to 11 years.
Oh,
like, is that a crime? I don't know, but I'm willing to.
Dude,
willing to put it all in on that.
Yeah. By the way, someone I was watching Dollar Vigilante the other day, and he said, some people are throwing out there that maybe mumble rappers have actually just been following Joe Biden's ability to speak. And he goes, I know that sounds crazy, but people from Spain still speak with a lisp because there was a king from Spain who had a lisp. So then, therefore, everybody was ordered to start talking like that. Oh. So, yeah, that's how, like, Ibiza, all that shit, that's just because there was a Spanish king who had a lisp. Everyone was like, oh, I guess, all right.
I always wondered why Puerto Ricans, they pronounce the double L sound instead of a y sound, like traditionally Hispanic or traditionally Spanish-speaking countries would pronounce it with a y. Puerto Ricans pronounce it with a zh instead. So, yeah, that would make sense then, why there would be some kind of, like, certain
discrepancy
colonies perhaps went with one or the other. Anyways, go ahead. That was unrelated.
Yeah. So the actual answer, man who helped bankroll Brooklyn ISIS wannabe fighter sentenced to 11 years.
Well, mine still works, right? Because it's like...
Oh, yeah, it totally works. And you were onto something with your commentary. It turns out he got 1 year for funding ISIS and 10 years for having a Betsy Ross flag, which was really unexpected.
Toasty!
Well, he's a domestic terrorist, Jerry. You don't.
It's really yes, but he was.
He had the Gadsden flag probably.
You don't find a lot of Gadsden flag pouches with money being handed to an ISIS fighter. You know what I mean? Not a lot of.
I don't know if you know this, Jerry, but behind me is this come and you can't see it. It says come and take it. But it's got the rifle. I had to change it.
I knew what it was.
At your recommendation, I had asked Jerry for his permission. Basically, I said, "Do you think we should change out the join or die flag for the come and take it because of all the gun legislation that's happening? Not that we're gonna actually do anything to abide by this new gun legislation, but should we change it?" And so I did. And one of my boys came down and said, "Come and tack." Because, like, you can't see it. So he was standing there, like, it cuts off because of the monitor.
Come and tax it.
And so it's come and tack. And I said, no. And I had to, I think it was Dayton. And he's, it was funny because I substitute taught his class one time. And it was, he had come down and he had seen my join or die flag. And he said, oh, I was learning about join or die, that editorial cartoon in school today or whatever. And I said, oh, really? I said, what did you learn about it? And I had to, like, check his teacher's work or whatever. And so they're very good. They're very good about making sure that they're being taught objectively and whatever. But I went and I taught the class across the hall. It's the same. It was like 5th grade, I think. And I taught the class across the hall. This chick, I don't want to say her name, but the teacher, she had taught my oldest son. And I knew her from that, so when I went and subbed for her that afternoon when I got called in, she was like, okay, so we're covering this and this and this. And she's like, and we're also covering, for social studies, we're covering the the Bill of Rights in the Constitution. And I said, oh, you fucked up. You brought in the wrong guy for that. And she said, no, I brought in the right guy for that. So I was like, okay.
And then she was like, let me taste that cigarette for a second.
Yeah, and I took it out of my pants and I was like, but no, she was like, she knew because she had seen me with my Make America Great Again hat on. And it's so funny. I was talking to my ex-girlfriend the other day about this. I was talking to V about this. I said, anytime you woke up and you put on your Make America Great Again hat, that was the day that you woke up and you chose violence. You chose to put life on the hardest difficulty because you knew you were going to have some people spitting in your food. You knew you were going to have some people who were going to like pick on you or like say some shit to you or whatever, try to get you riled up or like talk some shit or whatever. But if you wore it, that was like an admission of like, hey, I'm willing to take life head on today. I chose violence when I got up. So that she had seen me in my Make America Great Again hat, so she knew where I stood on certain, obviously conservative platform, regardless of what Trump did or did not do. But yeah, she knew what decision I made and what my political ideology was. So go ahead. Anyways, that was something that I wanted to share with you. And now, my oldest is actually going into 7th. I don't know what grade he's going. I don't know what fucking grade he's going into. No, actually, probably 8th. I think he's going to 8th grade. And but he was excited to learn today that he was going to be studying the American Revolution. And I said, yeah. I was like, you need to know the American Revolution. That was what I taught those kids when I went to that 5th grade class. And we were talking about the Bill of Rights. We only got through like 4 of them because we had all afternoon basically.
There's only like 3 anyway, right?
Yep, that matter.
He got through 4, and there's only 3.
But yeah, no, I laid it out for him. I'm like, you guys got to understand this. They're coming for your rights, and it's up to you. I said I did what I could because I thought that's what I was doing when I joined the Army, but it wasn't. But I said I did what I thought I need you to do. I said I need you guys to step up, and you guys are the ones who are going to need to do something about this because they're going to come for it. And by the time you graduate high school, you're going to see some very distinct changes in this if you don't get involved. And there was one of course, there was a bunch of guys in the class, and none of them had fucking, they didn't have the guts to say anything. It was this little girl who came out and she was like, yeah, she's like rallying the troops or whatever. And she was the one who she was like, yeah, we need to do something. We need to absolutely, and she like had all the right answers. So I know she's got good parents at home who are teaching her
Well, that's awesome. No, Tom, you had told me about that girl. You had told me that after rallying the troops over the Bill of Rights, she had gone home where there was a significantly sized bully, and she kind of called him over, hid behind a sand trap, and then he jumped in and died. I remember that.
She went home where there was a whole bunch of rabbit poison, regular poison.
Okay, Tom. X blank convicted in blank's 2020 murder.
Give it to me again.
X blank convicted in blank's 2020 murder. And I want you to let you know, I'm looking at this guy's mugshot right now. He's not even 6 feet tall. So.
All right. Ex-midget convicted. All right. Ex-munchkin.
Right.
Convicted in adorable 2020 murder. Final answer, Jerry.
You're kind of close. This is nothing special. The goods are in the story. Ex-boyfriend convicted in teens 2020 murder.
Oh,
now.
What?
No, dude.
Boo.
Just hang with me. Kedron Coppage was convicted of first-degree murder and tampering with evidence. Now, he was arrested on several occasions for making threatening phone calls, assaulting the girl, kidnapping her outside of her home, where she was going to, or a place where she was going to make a secret order of protection. Now, what we have here is a guy who really couldn't let go. You know what I mean? He kept going, and eventually she said, "Look, man, had enough. You are my ex-boyfriend. I am your ex-girlfriend." And then he stabbed her 38 times, put her in the trunk of his car, and then he was caught literally on camera and taking her body out of her car. So
I thought you were going to say caught on camera saying, "We are the Lollipop Kids." Are these all true things that you've said so far? Because these all sound like, okay.
These are all true things. Okay. These are all true things.
Because I know at a certain point, sometimes you change to like, okay, it's joke time.
I tell all the truth here. I don't know. So, believe it or not, check this out. This is crazy. During the trial, His own lawyer referred to the victim as his ex, at which time his own client became enraged and stabbed him 38 times.
Toasty!
So stupid. I read it. I was like, how funny would that be if like his own lawyer just goes, so did you actually kill your ex? You know, like his trigger word, you know?
Yeah, all right. Little people, they're so funny.
They are. Dude, I found out there's a dwarf or a midget, whatever, in my neighborhood, and I literally saw her this morning walking a dog bigger than her. It was crazy. I couldn't.
I feel like riding on its back or something. You know,
dude, that
midgets
would
are
be
so funny
better.
to me. I don't know what it is. They're just like,
goodness.
I don't know. They're so funny.
So here's the next one.
Right.
2-year-old girl dies.
Ah, boo.
Yep. After ingesting blank and blank.
Is that the end of it?
That's it.
Does it sound
2-year-old.
like this? Jerry, you kind of put me on the spot here.
Dude, 2-year-old girl dies after ingesting blank and blank. And I'm going to throw this out there.
Yeah.
Okay? None of them. Well, wait, I can't even say that. Never mind. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you go. I was going to say I was going to say I don't know if any of them are a poison of an animal. So
No. Well, they might be, I guess.
there could be.
Well,
it
it could be blueberries, you know, because blueberries are technically poisonous to, or tomatoes are poisonous to dogs. All right,
right.
So, well, if I can, as unfunny as this is, I guess I got to try to make it funny.
No, it's pretty good.
2-year-old girl dies after ingesting. Oh, Tom, don't do it. Don't
Do it.
Don't
Do it. I can't be the only bad guy here.
I was gonna say ecstasy.
Well, Tom, you know,
Don't do it.
you wouldn't be far off.
All right. I don't want to do this, Jerry. I don't like this game.
All right, here we go. 2-year-old girl dies after ingesting cocaine and fentanyl. And I did leave this out purposefully. New Jersey man charged because I figured that would have given it away.
I would have given it away for sure.
That would have given. I had to leave that out, and it turns so.
Abernethy says they prefer little midgets. And then Monster Radio said pop rocks and soda. Like he's so like pure for this channel. 2-year-old girl dies
so
after
cute.
ingesting pop rocks and soda.
Oh, that's so good.
That would have been a good answer, but no, it's cocaine and whiskey.
I know. Cocaine and fentanyl.
Toasty!
So, the New Jersey man who was charged, I actually was able to, because you know that YouTube has all these channels with the interrogation footage, you know. And so they said to him, "Hey man, what were you thinking?" Right? And he said,
he's like freely giving it.
he said, "Hey man, hey New Jersey man, what were you thinking?" Right? And his first response was, "All right, all right, all right, all right."
What was the second response?
He said, "Well, she said she wanted to party."
Terrible.
And it turned out she meant cocomelon. This is what she meant. She wanted a cocomelon party. She wanted a cocomelon party. Holy
a little
shit!
girl is dead, Jerry.
Yeah, well, she's the lightweight, not me.
If she could handle her ecstasy and cocaine or whatever.
If she could only have cocaine and fentanyl.
Like adults can't handle fentanyl, Jerry.
Well, they should have taught her that on cocomelon. I don't know what to tell you.
All
right.
Was this Hunter Biden's kid or something?
It was actually Hunter Biden.
No, Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden's kids would be able to handle their cocaine and fentanyl.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Well, so here's the last one. All right. And I think we will like it here at the show. Okay.
Terrible.
blank, blank, okay, blank, blank, attack on a blank, and a type of victim. It says blank victim, so type of victim, okay, leads to blank, blank charges for Los Angeles woman. Okay.
Okay. One thing I know about Los Angeles women, everything I know about Los Angeles women, I learned from the movie Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones. Okay. And a little bit from Training Day. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. I feel like I'm a little bit better off than most people because I have watched those films. So I will say... So I've watched this movie. Like I said, I've watched Paranormal Activity, Marked Ones. Blank, blank attack. I'm thinking a cult-related attack on a... it's a woman. Like I said, I've seen the woman. I've seen the movie. It's a woman. I don't know how to describe her. I would say adolescent woman. I would say that adolescent. Leads to blank blank charges for LA woman. So I would say. So I'm thinking she was a witch. They kept referring to her as Bruja, right? So and it ended up being several murders and no, what's it called when they it's not reckless endangerment charges.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with so
yes, put it all together.
Okay, so it's a cult related, which is hyphenated. Which you didn't indicate that it was hyphenated, but I assume.
I didn't.
A cult-related attack on an adolescent victim leads to reckless endangerment charges for LA woman. As anyone who has watched Paranormal Activity, the Marked Ones, will tell you, that is...
it's pretty spot on.
But also it could be... yeah, no. I'm going to go with that one. I think that's probably it.
Okay.
Talk to me.
Well, you're very close. I think so. Very close. It's probably as close as you've been tonight, to be honest.
It was an ecstasy. A baby didn't ingest a bunch of ecstasy.
No, not on this one. Box cutter attack on transgender victim leads to hate crime charges for Los Angeles woman.
Oh, that's not even a real thing.
Toasty!
Well, so Tom, get this. Like, she was very Rosie Perez, like, it wouldn't shut her trap. You know what I mean? No. Could you imagine? Just talk like that. So they
talk anyways.
Yeah. So check this out. So they had footage, like on cops, like back in the day, in action, like police en route. And so as they put her in the back of the car, the TMZ like television crew said, "So hey, Rosita," they don't know her name.
Well, who would care?
They said, "Why you?" They said, "Why you do that?" Right? They said, "Why did you use a box cutter? It's unusual." You know what I mean? You don't even know this person. She said, "Well, they said they wanted to be a real woman, so I used a box cutter."
Terrible. Boo!
That was so bad. I had to do it last because it was like, all right, I built up all these goodwill first, and I'm like,
you should have led with that one.
Dude, I'm like, this one is so fucking stupid. I have to do it. You know what I mean?
I would have called, you know what? I would have argued that, like, it's not really even called a box cutter. I would say it's called a utility knife. Like, I would have corrected her, right? I would be like, it's not called a box cutter, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
It's called a utility knife.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude, can I tell you worse than that? I have one more, right?
Yeah,
that I was gonna do. No, so I'm not gonna make you guess. I'm gonna just do it to show you why. Okay.
No, let me try. Here's what we'll do. Make
Okay.
me guess, and I'll just give you the first thing that pops into my head.
Okay, yeah. Let's
Funny or
rapid
not?
fire. Okay.
I'll just go ahead. I'll
right.
I'll overdo. I'll overcompensate for your shortcomings on the last one.
Okay, great. Police, colon. South Carolina parents claimed that blank died at blank. An autopsy proved otherwise.
Police, something claimed.
And I want you to know, I had this set up for a reason. You're going to find out. But okay.
They
Police.
That. Go ahead.
South Carolina parents claimed blank died at blank. An autopsy proved otherwise.
That retarded son died at
January
Carnival. At Carnival. Because there's that's like the saddest situation I can think of.
Oh, sure.
Retarded son died at Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
An autopsy proved otherwise. How did they know? They cut him open. They didn't find any popcorn, right? They knew that he didn't die at the carnival. How close am I, Jerry?
Dude, South Carolina parents claim baby died at birth, and autopsy proved otherwise.
Toasty!
Turns out the baby had made it up to Jersey and was doing coke and fentanyl for a year and a half and finally died.
Oh, poor thing. Poor thing.
Yeah. And these parents are like, I don't know.
No, he died at birth. He wasn't up in
Must
New
have
Jersey
died at
doing
birth.
coke and fentanyl.
They're like, have you seen your baby? They're like, no.
Not
Must
for
have
the
died at
last
birth, I guess.
time.
I don't know. It couldn't
I'll
possibly.
tell you what, though, Jerry, that baby can party. Like, I
That's
have heard
right.
a lot about babies partying today.
Yeah. You know
And
what
like,
I mean?
I'll tell you what, if my babies had partied that hard, I'd have way more babies right now.
Dude, let me
because,
tell you
like,
something.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, if you knew that was what your life would turn out to be, wouldn't you
my
just...
kids weren't babies when fentanyl was a thing, right? They
Right.
might be doing fentanyl. Who knows?
That's true.
And I would totally party with a baby who did fentanyl.
Yeah, dude. It was so funny, right? Because, like, the cops
Yeah, it's
were
hilarious that kids are
like... Dude, the cops were like, to these parents, right? They were like, so you think that your baby just died at birth, but it's missing.
Yeah, this takes me back to that missing 411 situation we were talking
Dude,
about.
and they said, yeah, that's what we're saying. And you know what the guy said?
That it's unlikely that the predator killed their baby.
He said, all right.
What's your baby paying for a gram of fentanyl?
That's right.
I gotta know because I'm out here slinging
I'm
fentanyl.
out here. I know it seems like I'm a concerned cop trying to find your baby, but it
I'm
turns
here
out I've
slinging
been hanging
fentanyl
out.
to babies.
I've been hanging out with your baby for 2 years.
Can you imagine the cop that's
Doing
out there,
coke.
like, you know, selling drugs on the side to babies, but it's exclusively babies, right?
Exclusive? Yeah. Who else is there to? Everybody else knows fentanyl's not good.
Well, I always used to joke about how, like, I would talk to, like, really good salesmen, and I would make my recruiters talk to salesmen, and that was how you learned how to tailor your Army interview. And you would take the stuff that you liked, and you would then the stuff that you didn't like, you would take it out of your Army interview. So when you were pitching the Army to people or whatever, you would, like, change your interview to stuff that, you know, as you talk to these people.
Sure.
We did, like, Scientology. We do used car salesmen. We do shit like that. And then
Nice.
I said, man, I would love to meet like a drug dealer who sells crystal meth. You know, like, after we've seen all these Faces of Meth videos, we've seen all these disgusting things or whatever, and you're like, I would never smoke crystal meth, not in a million fucking years, because I've seen all these videos. But then you've got, like, a drug dealer who's out there who's like, hey, man, you ever tried crystal meth? And you're like, no, come on. Like, I've seen all this stuff. And then, like, they're able to convince you otherwise. Like, I got to talk to that guy was my thing. I always wanted to talk to that silver-tongued drug dealer
can I
who
tell
could
you?
convince me to smoke crystal meth, you know?
Can I tell you, the hardest sell for me would not be the ramifications down the line, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anyone hand me, like, a clean pipe.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They're
What
always
does a
like,
clean pipe even look like?
I don't even know, but they're like, oh, here, man, because it's always you let the product sell itself, right? So you go, here, try this, and then it's the dirtiest up your asshole burn,
Yeah.
because you're a meth head, right? Like, so you burnt it, all that. Like, you don't even take care of the one thing you care about.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, this is why,
because you burn them and they look like shit.
That's right. Yeah. And so this is what your selling point to me is. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is where you're saying, hey man, why don't you try to live a life like me? And it's like, oh, with a burnt pipe? Are you serious?
Yeah, right.
Get out of here. I want to burn a pipe. I'll
do you think
it
it
by
burns like that? I don't know much about smoking crack, right?
Yeah,
I know far less about smoking crack than the president's son does. Right? But like, does it burn like that the first time, or is there like a grace period where like maybe you smoke, like you have a Juul, those little vape cigarettes or whatever, you smoke them for a couple days and then you can take the cartridge and throw it away, and then you've got that battery pack looks fine, but you put the new one in, right, and it looks, it all looks new. After a couple days it looks like shit, you throw it away, you get the new one. Is that what a crack pipe looks like? Or is it like the first time you use it, you're like, oh, now it looks like shit. I don't want people to see me smoking this shitty crack pipe, right?
Oh,
like,
dude,
I gotta know.
Fuck that. Think about this, right? Imagine if you're a cop and you're trying to infiltrate a local,
What's up, fellow crackheads? And
hello, fellow crackheads, right? No, but the crack pipe's new.
That's what I'm saying.
Those rose tip ones and the thing. And they're just like, it's like shining and gleaming and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're just like, fuck you, narc. Like even a crackhead knows. They're like, come on. It only takes one. Yeah. They're like, even they know. They're like, it takes one hit on a pipe for you to look dirty. You showered today and that's a new pipe. Get the fuck out of here, you narc.
You don't smell like shit. You don't Abernathy said babies don't snitch. Which is like why they're a great clientele, right? What are they gonna tell? Like they go to the cops and they're like goo goo gaga, and they're like,
that's true.
Oh, look at this cute little crackhead baby. They're not ever gonna be like goo goo gaga. It was Tom Miller. He sold me the dope. It's never like that. It's just they're like, oh, look at this poor little crackhead or whatever, the skull crack baby. So
they
that
the cops would have to kill any baby that could speak, right?
Is that true?
No, yeah. Well, think about it, right? Like, let's say you're the cop, or you believe facts are facts, and like you know what I mean. There's no such thing as like a third option. You get what I'm saying?
No, I get it.
And then a cop and then a baby comes in, and they go, all right, I know this is gonna be pointless, but what happened, you fucking degenerate? You know what I mean?
Baby.
Yeah, you stupid degenerate baby.
Bad cop comes in.
Yeah.
Hey, loser.
He slaps the cigarette out of his mouth, And then he says, so what's your fucking what's going on with you, you dumb degenerate baby? And he goes, well, when I came out of my mother's womb, she cut me herself because we were at home and the birth came early. It was a surprise to her. My father was at work. And then...
Damn, this is a well-spoken baby.
Right. No, this is what I'm saying. And then they're like, my mother was surprised and didn't know what to do, so she stood up, and I happened to drop and roll. The trailer we were in was imbalanced, so I rolled right out of the door where there was
the muddy gravel.
That's right, and then I was luckily picked up by a predator.
Thank God, right?
Literally a predator. And brought to
the predator
New Jersey.
From.
Yeah, you see
this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I was brought to New Jersey to party, and so in other words, they tell this whole story, and then the cop sits back and goes, "I must be losing my fucking mind. I just heard a whole clear, concise, distinct, absolute good Queen's English from a fucking 1.5-year-old crack baby." Yeah. So then they have to kill the baby, and there's no.
Yeah. Well, I get
you can't exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've got to put an end to that before it becomes like. Yeah, that's why we don't see. You know what? That's why we don't see well-spoken babies. It's because the cops are killing them all.
That's right.
Have you ever had a situation where like something so unreal happened to you that you were like you had to question your existence at that moment? Have you ever had something like that? Like not necessarily a talking baby or anything, but like have you ever had a situation where you're like, there's just no way that this is a real situation that I just experienced?
Yeah, I mean, I remember one time when I was standing on a very major on the side of a very major thoroughfare, and my friend pantsed my other friend, and it looked like he had an entire rabbit up his asshole.
What was it?
It was his actual hair. He just had such a hairy ass that we literally named it Enrique the Ass Rabbit from there on out. And I just thought, okay, so I went from knowing my friend in one way to now
biblically knowing him. Yeah.
Biblically, but also saying that he has an animal shoved in his ass, but I still let him come back to my house and hang out, you know?
And fuck his rabbit.
Right. Or whatever it is.
Sick
you know?
Bastard.
Well, here, I'll give you another one. That same friend tried to fuck his girlfriend in my house, and my dog, which was a female, was losing her, I guess, mental faculties at that age. She was a German Shepherd Collie, 80-pound dog. She climbed up on top of them and humped the shit out of them until they stopped trying to fuck. And I remember that wasn't the first time that happened. My 3-year-old cousin had been over not that long before, and he like was getting, you know, the dog all riled up, and then he ran, you know, like kids run, and then they run right up against a couch, you know what I'm saying? And then they're just up against the couch, and they're like, oh, that was fun, I was running, right? And then the dog just came up behind it and hurt him and humped the shit out of him. And he kept calling me, going, Joey, get the doggy. Joey, get the doggy, right? And I couldn't believe that was my real life. Well, 20 years later, he killed somebody, and he's in prison.
Oh, this cousin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think it had anything to do with the fact that your dog raped him?
Yeah, the victim was the same name as my dog.
Spot. Rover. Some like classically dog name.
Yeah, really. I can't even. Oh, why can I not think of it? But no, we named my dog Sandy, and that was
so like a real person's name.
Like a real person name, yeah. Well, because she kept stealing our sandwiches, so we said, well, isn't that cute, right? You know what I mean?
Well, that's why like a lot of babies will often call people crack. Steal their crack. All right. That's it for today. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Jerry, do you have anything that you need to sell or whatever?
Yeah, so I'm doing a fundraiser for the victims of my cousin. We want we're trying to get a GoFundMe going to help the hurricane of violence against Sandy.
Sandy's across America.
So we're asking for donations to help victims of Hurricane Sandy.
Stupid.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.